Dudettes, wherever you're at. I'm sorry it was a little late one today, bro. I'm so sorry. I'm like 20 minutes later than I said I would be, which is like actually 30 minutes later than I kind of like to do it. How are y'all doing? What's up, you guys? Who's up in here today? Wafoo, she boy. You know what I'm saying? Today, I think today potentially is a dread down day. You know what I'm saying? It's a dread down day, you know? Shake them nasty dreads. They're not actually nasty, bro. But anyways, how are y'all doing today? What's up? Today's Wednesday. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you're here. Today's going to be fun. The little mindful message today is actually about Freemasonry, the Mormons in Utah. We'll get to that in a minute. And then we're going to continue reading chapter 3 of the book of chapter 3 of the history of magic, written in 1913. And then there was a little podcast that came out yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to watch it. It's someone who I know and watch some of their content. The other individual, we actually together, at least here on stream, maybe even when I run to the bathroom, Base Forge had a guest on that talks about some compelling stuff. So at the end, we're going to go ahead and just basically watch the podcast together, like live react. Before that, we'll read a little bit of a book I like to read, just so you know. Check this out, you guys. So each chapter of the book, so we might read 2 chapters today, we might only read 1, but for whatever section we read, I will post those videos standalone of the reading portion on YouTube. There's actually, if you go to playlists, I put the mindful messages in a playlist, and I'm going to start putting in chronological order all of the reading on a Read With Me playlist on YouTube, bro. So if you do actually want to keep along, stay along, and watch the reading section, there is that by itself. If you haven't noticed, the last section when we like watch stuff together, that is also a standalone image. I can show you right here real fast what I'm talking about. Let me just show you real quick ski. So if you go to Tripoverdrip on YouTube, 1.64, let's go. Yeah, you notice here how like the one here says the history of magic, read along, chapters 1 and 2. That was the same stream when we talked about the Oddfellows and Tartaria and the Freemasonic aspect of it. I put that section where I found a Masonic lodge by my house. This rabbit hole goes deep. That's a separate segment that I'm going to start doing. Basically the live streams, if you want to watch them and don't catch them live, you can go to the live stream. I'll change this down the rabbit hole image, to be honest, I think that I'm going to find a few specific images for the live stream itself because I use different thumbnails for the clips. But if you go here to playlists and you do read books with me, boom. I just want to say thank you for being on this video. There's only one video there. You know what I'm saying? So you'll always be able to keep up with the book segment. I'm trying my best to keep them up in the what's up, Chase Porter's in the house. I'm trying my best to keep them up in the mindful messages. What's up, Scotland's Lost Girl, Hidden VR? How are you guys doing over there on YouTube? I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube. I'm also on Kick, Twitch, and on Facebook. I just appreciate all of you guys for even being here. Genuinely, I'm actually grateful. Can we please just start this stream off right? No matter what happens, where we go, the things we talk about, let's just start it in the resonance of gratitude, because gratitude is actually the human superpower. I'm grateful for you. And I would just hope while I continue to say a few things that I'm grateful for, you will just comment something you're grateful for, either now in the live stream or if you're watching this later. I'm grateful for the ability to start homeschooling my children. It's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be so many learning experiences for me. places where I will be able to continuously question where I'm at and what I'm doing in present experience, be able to admit when I'm wrong, watch it grow as watch them grow. I'm talking about the homeschooling energy. But watch them grow as I'm like present with them every day in the mix, mending relationships, building better bonds, doing actual things. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful for every single one of you guys. To be honest, thank you all for being here. Whether you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, I love y'all. Like I said, Tripoverdrip on YouTube, bro. I'm trying to freaking get I need like 1,500 more hours of watch time before I can get monetization. I'm trying my best. I grind as much as I can. And now I just need to just let it grow and just flower into something beautiful. So if you want to support the channel and don't ever make the live streams or whatever, I'm going to be really honing in on making standalone videos of certain things like this, like I said, with the specific of just us reading and stuff. And then what we talk about afterwards, a few longer clips from the live stream to post separately, so you don't have to necessarily fast forward to a certain spot or whatever. So just know I'm trying my best, you guys, and I appreciate y'all for being here. You guys ready to get into fucking today? You guys ready to get into today's mindful message? Because I don't really think you know what's about to happen, buddy. I don't really know if you think you know what's about to happen, buddy. Can we get some Team Humans in the chat? We could put poop emojis in the chat, spam it with aliens, red, yellow, and green hearts, because this one, it just continues on with this little Freemasonic thing in my hometown. Like if you watched last stream, I found a Freemasonic lodge kind of hidden in like this little nook and cranny in my city. And then I did some research on it, and here we are, continuing similar type research, talking a little bit about it. I'm just still probing and just doing a little bit more looking before I bring some more stuff up on stream. But there is a podcast that did drop yesterday that I want to talk about and live react to, and we'll do that towards the end, okay? So here we go. Righty, cheerio, mate. Top of the morning to you. Cheers. But what if the part of Mormon history that you were told not to question is the exact part that explains the entire structure? I'm talking about Mormons, like the LDS religion. I do live in Utah. I'm not a church member anymore. I left because after experiencing it, reading the scripture, looking at the history, the control mechanisms, and the part that we were just taught to call sacred, I no longer believed the truth that they claim is the truth. And for me, it became too cult-like to ignore. That's my lived experience. Now, this is not an attack on your mom, your brother, your spouse, your kids, your best friend, the genuinely good people that do go to that church. Because there are good people in that system. Come on, we have to be real. There are kind people in that system. There are loving people in that system. There are people that are just trying their best inside of a world that they were born into, just like me. But good people can belong to an institution that asks them not to look too closely at its foundations. Good people can defend something that has harmed them. Good people can repeat a story before they ever get the chance to study where that story even came from. And I'm not here to try and hand you some sort of conclusion or tell you what to think. I'm just here to put the pattern right in front of you. The temple, the restricted rooms, the weird special clothing, the secret handshakes, the signs, the tokens, the sacred names, the ritual language, the worthiness interviews, and the temple recommend. The requirement that you have to prove your belief, your behavior, your loyalty, your commitment, and your paying of tithing before you're even allowed to enter the ritualistic side. And then I want to put one more piece on the table in front of you, because Joseph Smith became a Freemason in March of 1842. Soon after that, he introduced the first temple endowment to his movement, his religion that he had started. Not decades later, not after like an unrelated lifetime, very soon after he was initiated. The Nauvoo Lodge records document Joseph Smith's Masonic initiation in March of 1842. On May 4th, he introduced the endowment to 9 men in Nauvoo, and those men were also Freemasons. Now, to be honest, you can decide what that means. Maybe you believe Joseph Smith restored something ancient. Maybe you believe that Masonry preserved fragments of the original temple ceremony. Maybe you believe that Joseph Smith borrowed a ritual system that he had just encountered and then just gave it a new religious frame. Maybe you believe the truth is more complicated than just one or any explanation. But you cannot honestly say that there is no pattern to investigate. And if you're willing to even look at this pattern with me without borrowing someone else's conclusion, you can just comment, "I will look again." Because let's be real. If a man enters an organization structured around private rituals, ceremonial clothing, symbolic handshakes, signs, tokens, oaths, controlled access, staged progression, and insider recognition, and then within weeks, he introduces a religious ceremony with a private ritual, ceremonial clothing, hand clasp, signs, tokens, covenants, controlled access, staged progression, and insider knowledge. You do not have to hate him to just even ask questions, bro. You do not have to hate believers to ask a question. You do not have to decide the conclusion before you notice the timing. You just have to be honest enough to say, bruh, there is a connection. And the historical timeline isn't vague. It's kind of specific. We have documents that prove it. Joseph Smith became a master mason on March 15th, 1842. The very first temple endowment followed in early May 1842. The historical debate is not whether he joined Masonry or whether the early endowment came afterward. It is about what the overlap means. Church-linked historical discussions have acknowledged both the timing and the ritual similarities, while maintaining that the temple endowment meaning and its purpose are very distinct and different from Masonic rites. But truly, I need you to understand something. The exact question that I have is not whether temple ritual is a word-for-word replica of every Masonic degree, because it's not. And it's not accurate to say that every Mason progresses through some single 33-degree ladder. The foundational Masonic lodge system has 3 degrees. The Scottish Rite degrees, 4 through 32, those are the additional system, while the 33rd degree is actually just given to honorary recognition members who have had exceptional service. So I'm not building this on a weak claim that someone can knock down in 10 seconds. I'm building it on what there is: a founder with direct Masonic experience. Let me repeat that again. Joseph Smith became a master Mason March 15th, 1842. A religious ritual was introduced in his religious movement very shortly after that experience. Ritual architecture, they all include recognizable similarities, an institution that restricts access to its most important ceremony, a culture that tells people that the private ritual must not ever be discussed in detail outside of the approved setting, a system that attaches temple access to worthiness, tithing, belief, covenant, behavior, family, identity, and eternal consequences. That's not nothing, bro. That is the entire architecture of authority, because ritual is never just ritual, dude. Ritual tells your nervous system what is real. Ritual tells your body when to feel fear. Ritual tells your mind who is inside and who is outside. Ritual also tells you that people with that information have something that you need. And when the ritual is connected to your eternal family, your marriage, your salvation, your reputation, your community, your ancestors, and your image of yourself as a good person, it becomes incredibly hard to question without feeling like you're risking your entire world. That is not a flaw in you. That is how the systems work, bro. A secret handshake is never just a handshake. It's two conscious beings touching each other, but saying to each other, I recognize you. A token is never just a token, bro. It says that you have received something that others don't have. A password is never just about the words. It says, you may enter this room. And to everyone else, it says, you cannot. A temple recommend is never just a card. It's like a gate. It's a boundary. It's a mechanism that decides who gets access to the inner room and who has to remain outside. And I know the response, bro. It's not secret. That's just sacred. Okay. I understand. I actually understand why believers say that. But if it is sacred, why is the history around it treated like it's dangerous to investigate? If it is divine, why should the timeline of these events even threaten it? If it is revelation, why should anyone become uncomfortable when people compare the rituals to the structure that Joseph Smith entered, was initiated into, and then created something himself? Because if truth is truth, it does not recommend or require you to stop thinking. It does not need you to be afraid of the sources. It does not need you to call questions anti-Mormon before you even looked at the evidence. All I'm saying is, as somebody who has been inside of this type of mindset, you can be taught to fear information so deeply that your own curiosity starts to feel like a spiritual attack. You can be taught that discomfort comes from the adversary. You can be taught that doubt is like moral failure. You can be taught that questions are dangerous because the world wants to pull you away from your family, your salvation, or your identity. You can be taught to be honest and still be scared. But what happens when the fear is not protecting you from the lies? What happens is the fear is protecting the institution from your questions. Really sit with that. I'll say it one more time. What happens when the fear is not protecting you from the lies? What happens when the fear is protecting the institution from the questions? Because, to be honest, that's a bomb, bro. The most effective control systems is not the one that silences you. Yeah, sorry, let me say that again. The most effective control system is not the one that silences you. It's the one that teaches you how to silence yourself. You don't need somebody standing over you if you've already learned to correct your own thoughts. You don't need to be behind a locked door if you have learned to be terrified of what happens when you walk through it. You don't need to tell someone. You don't need someone to tell you not to research if you have been trained to believe research itself into this church is betrayal. That is why I am talking about this whole Masonic thing, bro, is huge. This pattern shows up everywhere. It's in high control religions. It's in political movements. It's in secret fraternities. It's in corporations. It's in cults. It's in militaries. It's in families. It's in any system that connects identity, fear, belonging, loyalty, morality, and the access to truth. The more that systems can make your entire life dependent on staying inside the circle, the more difficult it will become for you to leave, even when something inside of you knows that it's not right. And then you look at the bigger Joseph Smith story, a man from a world of treasure seeking, a man associated with seer stones and hidden objects, a man who claimed to access buried records and ancient knowledge, a man who built a movement around special Revelation, a man who created some sort of sacred hierarchy, a man who established ritual access, a man who became a mayor, a man who commanded the Nauvoo Legion, like a military army. The same man who ran for president was also a man who was killed before that story even finished. Now, you can explain every single one of those pieces on its own, but if you put them together, treasure seeking, seer stones, hidden records, angelic messages, gold plates, secret knowledge, Masonic membership, temple initiation, sacred clothing, signs, tokens, covenants, a city, a militia, political ambition. That is not Sunday school flannel board stories. That's a power story, bro. Power stories deserve scrutiny because the question is not, were these people evil? It's like, what kind of system is being built here, bro? What is the restoration? What is an adaptation? What is a new religion using symbiotic tools, ritual language, social structure available in the 19th century in America? What is revelation? What is manipulation? What is a complicated mix of belief, charisma, innovation, borrowed forms, spiritual hunger, and human ambition? You can land wherever you want to land with this. But nobody should be able to shame you into looking at the evidence first. And I want to be generous here, okay? I know people who are still members of this church. I know people who have beautiful memories that are tied to these Mormon temples. I know people who have found community, service, meaning, stability, and a family inside of their church. And I don't want to insult their experience at all to tell the truth of mine. A beautiful memory does not erase a troubling historical question. A moment that we feel is spiritual does not erase the reality that emotionally intense rituals can shape people profoundly. A feeling of peace does not automatically settle questions about origin, influence, authority, secrecy, or control. Your experiences may have been real. Your emotions may have been real. Your love for your family may have been real, and the institution can still be worth examining. Both can be true. The church has also revised temple practices over time. For example, official church history notes adjustments to temple work across its history, including changes in the clothing practices and who can serve as witnesses. Independent timelines have also documented major revisions to endowment wording and presentation, including a substantial 2019 and a 1990 change. It does kind of matter because if a ceremony is presented as ancient, eternal, unchanged, directly restored from God, and then changes raise reasonable question. What is eternal? The principle, the script, the gesture, the covenant, the language, the garments, the ceremony, or is the institution's authority to change it? Again, I'm not trying to get you to think of any sort of answer. I'm just giving you permission to even ask questions about things you've been questioning. Because if you love just this idea of being open-minded, you have to question everything, bro. You can honor your parents and still investigate your childhood. You can respect someone's spiritual path and still decide whatever their path is isn't evidence for you. You can say that experience was sacred to you, without allowing anyone to tell you that you must surrender to that spiritual experience. You can leave a corrupt system without becoming cruel towards the people who are still in it. And you don't have to label every believing member as brainwashed. Some people stay because they actually genuinely believe. Some people stay because they're scared because their family's there. Some people stay because the social cost of leaving it is too big. Some people stay because they have religious trauma. Some people stay because they have not yet allowed themselves to read what we have been reading or talk about what we have been talking about. Some people stay because they have come to different conclusions. And to be honest, that's their journey, bro. But your journey belongs to you. And with all of this, I just want to leave you with some spiritual gold. Your soul does not need a gatekeeper in order to be worthy of truth. You do not need some sort of temple recommend or some middleman to even ask a question. You do not need a bishop to approve your discernment. You don't need a prophet to authorize your thoughts and your conscious mind. You don't need an institution to grant you permission to look at history. If God is real, if truth is real, then neither one is threatened by an honest investigation. So look at the timeline of this. Look at the Masonic connection, the symbols, the ritual architecture, who gets access, what people are asked to sacrifice to remain inside, what they fear of losing if they leave. Look at how the system reacts when someone just asks simple questions. And then look inside of yourself. What did you inherit before you were old enough to even choose it or question it? What question have you avoided because you were taught that the question was dangerous? What part of you still believes that someone else must approve your ability to search for truth? Because in my personal opinion, the deepest initiation is not inside of a temple. It's not inside of a lodge. It's the moment that you remember and just reclaim your own discernment. The moment that you stop outsourcing your consciousness. The moment you realize that you can love people without lying to yourself. The moment you understand that truth has never been your enemy. And if you're willing to look at the pattern, sit with the question, follow the evidence wherever it may lead. Not where fear tells you to stop, but where the evidence leads. You can just comment, I love Team Human. I love you guys. Shit, my dude! I told y'all you didn't know what was up, boy. Shit, dude. Shit, dude. Can we get some fires? Fire. Fire. Hey. Who do we got up in here? I've been just blabbing and going off for just... like 20 minutes. That was a good one. We got Jeremy up in here, Christopher, Chase Porter, Kyle Finnegan, Nicole Schellenberg, Koifish, Sam I Am, Vox Balder. We've got Julia Palladino. What's up, dude? We've got Scotland's Lost Girl, Hidden VR. We got Scruffmeister up in here. We got Darlene. We got my wife, Queen Trip. What's up, baby girl? We got Kelty up in here from across the ocean. Katie Cleo. We got motherfucking Marie Moon up in here. Julia Brand, Melissa Clark, Brianna. Happy birthday, Brianna. I already said this in the Discord, but I want to say it again. Melissa Clark. We've got Stan P up in here. We got a whole ass motherfucking groove. Fire, bro. Can you guys not feel I'm amped up, bro? Okay, I'll just drop the YouTube link real fast for everybody. Dude, I'm gassed up. Not like that. I'm like fueled up, dude. I'm excited for today. Today's not going to be too much of a rabbit hole. We are going to go down a rabbit hole. I just took you down the Mormon rabbit hole, didn't I? So while we're just here, based off of today's mindful message, you think they're Freemasons, bro? You can just put poop emojis in the chat if you dead ass think they're Masons, bro. Cause I sure the fuck do, boy. Okay, there's the YouTube chat. Boom. Hit over to the bot. What's up, Nicole? We love you, dude. Thanks for coming back, bro. Thanks, bro. YouTube's way better. I'm just telling Facebook, bro. I'm just telling Facebook. You know how like on Facebook, you're probably watching your phone like this? Yes, I do have a freaking Game Boy as my background. On YouTube, you'll be able to watch like this, and the things that we talk about and the things that we watch will be so much bigger for your enjoyment. All right, real quick. Just want to show y'all, okay? Just because there wasn't this many people in here. Today, we are going to continue reading. After we go over some clips on X, we're going to use our discernment together and just probe what's on the internet. and just watch it together and just discuss it. And then we're going to continue reading chapter 3, Magic in India. The book we're reading is The History of Magic. It's over 100 years old, written in 1913. But I'm starting to do, like, I obviously don't want to say, hey, come join my book club and do a different thing. I'd just rather read it with you guys on stream. And then for everybody who wants to continue reading or watch it later, or maybe you're like, oh, you're like freaking one day, 6 months from now, we're still homies, you're still following me, we're still chatting all the time, and you're like starting a new project and you need a book to listen to, you can just boom, go right down over here to read books with me, and I will continue to read books on stream as we continue this one and finish this one. We'll find another one, and I will always upload in chronological order into the read books with me. So there's that. There is that. There is that. There is that. Check this out. Shout out Diligent Denizen. You know what I'm saying? Boots on the ground. Potential exculpatory evidence in the Tyler Robinson Charlie Kirk case is now submitted via official channels. A reputable attorney from Salt Lake City is submitting that identities of material witnesses who 100% IDs Tyler Robinson the night of 9/10/25 at 8:47 to 9:55 p.m. in Panguitch, Utah. Restaurant receipts said belonged to Tyler Robinson, along with identifying POS details, which is point of sale, right? Pretty Ricky's in the house. Lacey Lane's up in the house. What's up? What's up? What's up, dude? I see all you guys. I love you guys. Kyle Finnegan, Cheryl Graham. What's good, dude? What's good, dude? Okay. And then also, if you're on Facebook and you want to be able to, the people you see chatting on screen, they're on either YouTube, Kick, or Twitch. They're not on Facebook. So that's, for some reason, Facebook won't allow me to add the Facebook chat up into the chat so everybody can see the chat. So basically, they have officially submitted witness testimony and receipts showing that Tyler Robinson was in Panguitch on September 10th, which then just leads you to believe this whole story that he drove 4 hours south afterwards and then drove 4 hours north to go back and then drove 4 hours south again, just nonstop driving. You know, it just seems sus to me, but it's pretty interesting to think about. Oh, this is where we get weird. Did you hear what she said? Dolly Parton just toasted to the god Azels. The late Dolly Parton, accompanied by Jennifer Aniston and Sandra Bullock, toasting to Azazel from the Hebrew Bible, in which it's claimed in Jewish scriptures Azazel was the watcher or a fallen angel who rebels against God in the book of Enoch.
To the god of sound. Oh, Lordy.
It's kind of crazy. Kind of weird. You know what I mean? You're right, bud. You're right. It is. It's all of them. It's all of them, dude. It's fucking all of them. Hell yeah. What's up, dude? Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Let's listen to this clip actually, because we know now about like the horses that are being turned into beef, supposedly and allegedly. And then we, feel like all of a sudden Donald Trump is like bringing in 300,000 metric tons of product of beef. And they're going to be able to sell it at lower the cost than market price. And the president of the Cattlemen's Association was this. This is his response to what Trump has said. Because our farmers here in America are getting fucked. Like, why are they importing all this meat? Why can't they just fix the agriculture and the ranchers situation here in our own country? Oh, yeah, it's because they're trying to poison all of us, probably.
Tupper, he is the president of the U.S. Cattlemen's Association. Mr. Tupper, I appreciate your being here. You said you don't put America first by putting U.S. cattle producers last. How does this impact cattle ranchers in this country?
Well, thanks, Peter, for having us. And, we're at historic lows. We have the lowest cow herd numbers since the 1950s. That's a lot of the reason that we have these price increases. We live in a free market system where it's supply and demand. And right now, the demand is higher than the supply. And bringing in foreign beef that does not have to live up to the same standards or any of the things that we go by here in this country, we don't think will. One of two things will not bring down the price of beef in the store, and it's not going to help the ranchers to increase their herd. We think inflation is high. Our insurance costs are out of this world. Fuel costs are up. So every input the American rancher has is higher.
Tupper, he is
interesting. The actual animals, like the actual herded animals that we slaughter in America to turn into beef, has dropped drastically, and it hasn't been this low since 1950. That's what he said, right? Or it's been dropping steadily since 1950. Do you ever think about potentially, like, maybe it's, what if just the living conditions these animals are put in to keep up with the demand of meat? It's just like literally like a slaughterhouse. It's not like, imagine what happens when you're eating meat from an animal who lived in a fucking horror movie. They were like starved and pumped full of weird medicines and put in these inhumane conditions to live and sleep and eat, and the food that has like all sorts of weird shit in them. You know what I'm saying? Imagine all the like chemicals that the brain and the animal's body is pumping throughout its whole system, and then you kill it, and then you eat those chemicals that come from the inhumane living conditions and the medications and all of that stuff. You literally eat the stress of the animal. Why do you think our ancestors like respected the animal and respected like every single piece, use every single piece, and they never killed without it needing to be killed? They never killed without needing to eat. They respected all the animals. Our ancestors were like a part of the planet, not separate from it, not the most superior animal on the planet, not the smartest one. They were a part of the planet, bro. I'm sorry to do this to you guys. I don't fucking like this dude, but I just have to hear you say it. I just have to have you hear him say it.
Israel is a critical ally. Israel is a critical ally of ours, and I think most people understand the necessity of this funding. They're fighting for their very existence. They're the only stable democracy in the Middle East. I mean, of course, for those of us who are believers, it's a biblical admonition to stand with Israel. We will, and they will prevail as long as they're with them. And this is an important, very important symbolic gesture and a very important replenishment of their stockpiles, for example, of the Iron Dome. The reason they shot down all those drones and missiles in the last attack by Iran is because we assisted with that. I think the American people understand the importance of that. Israel is a critical ally of ours.
He said it was biblical. He said he literally got up in front of all of the people watching and said, standing with Israel is America's biblical calling. I thought you guys I'm pretty sure Donald Trump's not Christian. So why does, you know what I'm saying? Only love will prevail. You are absolutely right, Becky. Absolutely motherfucking right. Oh gosh, this is gonna take us a little bit to explain, okay? All right, I need poop emojis in the chat if this is not your first time here and you fully understand the prophecy of building the third temple. Does anyone recall the prophecy of the third temple? I'll wait. 10, 9, 8, 6. Okay, so the third temple has to be built before the end times and the Messiah and the Jewish religion can come. There's a prophecy that all Jews will return to Israel so that they can build the third temple to bring back the Messiah and the Antichrist, like the end of times in their specific religious beliefs. There is literally IDF soldiers in Israel right now on their military uniforms the internet will say that it's not accepted and it's shunned upon, and the military officers get corrected, but it's very obvious that they have these third temple patches on their military uniforms. Because in order for the third temple to be built, one of Islam's most sacred sites, the Dome on the Rock, which is on top of the foundation stone, the Al Mosque, would have to go. So Judaism and Judaism and the Islamic religion, they're not real friends, Like, they're not friends, bro. It's obvious. So how crazy is it that these two religions that have been fighting each other for centuries, bro, that one of the most sacred Islamic sites is literally on top of Judaism's most sacred sites, the foundation stone, which is like supposedly a piece or like a part of the rubble of Solomon's temple, bro, with like the seal of Solomon, like this ancient occult magic that we talk about. Netanyahu. So first of all, we have to acknowledge that in order for before the third temple is built, there are a few things that have to happen. And one of the things is all of the Jews have to be back in Israel. They also have to have a red heifer. A red heifer. Let me just, because in order to consecrate the third temple, to the first actual ritual that will happen in the temple to consecrate it to God, is that they have to sacrifice a red heifer. Okay? Yeah, can you please provide me the information about the genetically modified red heifer that a rancher in Texas has created and then also sold to Israel?
I found reports that 5 unblemished red heifers were imported from a Christian rancher in Texas to Israel, reportedly not genetically modified. They are linked to religious groups aiming to rebuild a Jewish temple in Jerusalem, and some articles mention the use of Texas semen in breeding cows in Israel. None of the sources describe them as genetically modified.
Sorry, not genetically modified. They were the information said they had created the perfect red heifer, the perfect one. So I just assumed if they created the perfect one, that there was some like CRISPR gene editing inside of the embryos and all of that stuff to create the perfect red heifer. So that they could send them to Israel. So Israel has the red heifers when the third temple is built. So this clip coming from Parody Jeff, but he posts real stuff. Elizabeth Lane, there's lots of people who follow this. Kevin is a Human, Sword Truth, Ryan Matta, Stu Peters. They all follow Parody Jeff. So I don't want you to get twisted because his name's Parody Jeff. Netanyahu just urged all the Jews around the world to come back and live in Israel, saying that God wants them there and that the land of Israel will expand to make room for all of the Jews worldwide. Wait. It will expand? That means that Israel's just going to continue to take over all the land in that region? Wait a second. I thought it was because I thought we were in this because we can't allow Iran to have nukes. I thought that's what this has been the whole time. I mean, for the last 40 years, every time Benjamin Netanyahu talked about it, he's like, Iran is so close to nukes, 2 weeks away, and then they're going to bomb America, 2 weeks away from a nuke, and then they're going to bomb America, 2 weeks away from a nuke, and then they're going to bomb America. And we supposedly went last year and bunker bombed their nuclear facility, and we had set them back centuries, supposedly is what our administration said. And then we started the war, and now it's all the propagandas. We can't allow them to have nukes. So wait a second. Why is Benjamin Netanyahu telling the people who live in Israel? Because if we unmute this for a second and allow him to talk.
וכשאני אומר ארצנו, כל יהודי, כל יהודיה, דלת פתוחה, אנחנו מחכים לכם. במדינת ישראל, בלב ארץ ישראל. ואתם מכינים את הקרקע לעלייה
It seems weird. I'm just saying, it seems weird. Just wanted to let you know that that's floating around in the realm of information, is that IDF soldiers are talking about the are wearing patches for the third temple. Red heifers have been shipped to Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu is calling all the Jews to come back to live to Israel. It's all like right in front of our face, right? You can all see it. Everybody could see it. I'm not some hippie, dude. I read books and stuffs and listen and pay attention to the patterns. I'm kind of autistic and a neurodivergent, and I've been pattern recognizer my entire life, and I can see the fucking pattern. Can you see the pattern? You could just comment pattern if you're seeing this later or if you're watching it now. Oh yeah, and then like the ear piercing. Oh yeah, that's prophetic too. But there's not going to be any sort of internet AI that's going to tell you about that prophecy. You just have to know. You just got to know to know. You know what I'm saying? You got to do your own little research and put it all together. Fuck, man. You're right. You're right, Marie. There's just patterns everywhere, bro. Patterns everywhere, bro. Oh, yeah. I wanted to read that. I wanted to watch this. It's only like freaking 4 minutes long. In 2021, David Icke laid out the reptilian non-human force in a sharp interview clip. He explained that the same research proving so many other truths correct led him to one conclusion. Behind all of this is a non-human force. One of its expressions is a reptilian form, but there are others, and ultimately it's a very distorted, inverted state of consciousness, which is all behind this. This global cult, when we see expressions of this global cult in your Bill Gates or George... Well, let's just keep going. We'll let him say it. It's better when it comes from the source.
See, what I would say to people is the research methodology of what I would say to people is the research.
This clip, I'm sorry for that. You're gonna have yourself. This clip is too quiet. It won't. You guys probably can barely hear it. Put ones in the chat if you could hear it fine. Put twos in the chat if you could barely hear it. Because this is the last clip. We are going to check out my homie's website again. All right, yeah, we're just going to skip this clip. But basically, David Icke said that fucking reptilians run the planet, dude. The global cults, all reptilians. The Bill Gates, the George Soroses are all reptiles. Do you think that they're reptiles? I think they're reptiles. Oh my gosh, I need a grown up. But I wanted to show you guys this. This is sick, bro. Fucking shout out Kevin is a human, bro. Because I actually specifically wanted to show you what it can do. See this? This is a whole entire ass web of all of the surveillance state stuff in America. It's probably pretty global, probably, actually. It's like we can just come up in here. Let me just find, where's Palantir at? Where are you at, Palantirski? Or how about Flock Safety? You know what I'm saying? We can just come up in here and go to Flock Safety. Flock sells cheap automated license plate readers to police departments, HOAs, and businesses, and then links them to a searchable national network. What I wanted to talk about, though, the crazy thing is that really shocked me that I didn't know is the Flock Safety Raven. The Flock Safety Raven is a gunshot and audio detection. It has acoustic sensors to pinpoint gunfire and street chaos. Do you not comprehend what that means, bro? That means that they are fucking setting up high enough technological devices that are listening machines all over the cities, bro, to be able to hear what people are saying in the cities, to be able to hear what we are doing, who's doing what's happening at all times, overlaid with cameras, bro. It's obvious that they're setting up this surveillance state, bro. It has gunshot and impulsive sound detection. What the fuck is impulsive sound detection? Location logging and real-time alerts. Street takeover and crash audio detection. It auto-triggered drones and camera focused based off of those sounds. The cameras are not it, bro. The cameras are not it, bro. There's cameras everywhere. They've been using CCTV and fucking facial recognition for a long time. Come on, bro. They probably had facial recognition 5 years in their systems before you were able to biometrically unlock your phone with your face. How about Flock Freeform? The natural language search across your video and LPR archives. Freeform is Flock's AI search tool that lets investigators query existing video and LPR systems using natural language to rapidly find relevant scenes and vehicles. It also analyzes footage for described objects, attributes, and even events without requiring an exact license plate. It's pretty fucking, it's a lot more than cameras, homie. Let's check out another one of these webs. I'll drop this website if any of you guys are interested in looking deep into this. It's called panopticonindex.com. I just dropped it in all the links. Some of y'all who follow Kevin as a Human probably have already checked this out. Potentially have already heard him talk about it. But you'll if you're interested in understanding this fucking surveillance state that's coming with these Flock cameras and all of this stuff. Axon Enterprise. Oh yeah, there's something about this that I wanted to talk about. So Axon Enterprise, huh? Axon dominates the US body camera market and runs Axon Evidence, or evidence.com, the cloud where much of American policing stores the footage. It is expanded into a real-time crime center. It has drones and AI that drafts up police reports from body cam audio. I don't know. Maybe this shit's so fucking mind-blowing to me because I'm chilling here freaking as like someone who spent 10 years incarcerated. I've had lots of interactions with police. And so I fully understand like the gunshot detections, the body cam, all of that stuff. But the crazy thing about these type of things is now that AI is kind of like taken over. We're all distracted by AI chatbots, not realizing that these governments are using highly sophisticated AI systems to implement their surveillance state. So inevitably we're all slaves, right? I mean, we're already slaves to the dollar, but as soon as AI creates everything that needs to be created, what are they going to do with us? They're going to give us some supplemental income that's going to be highly monitored, and every single choice that you make will either add or deduct money based off of money, your carbon footprint, all of these different things. Isn't it? It's just kind of crazy to me to think that they have microphones that based off of what the microphone detects, a literal drone from however far away will literally go to that location and potentially track you from that moment on. All of a sudden, these AI systems have a hit out for somebody. We need this person. And one of these microphones literally just hears them talking. And all of a sudden, within minutes, cops show up because there's been a drone following them walking through the park. It seems kind of dystopian, does it not? It seems kind of crazy to me, does it not? Like, I'm sure I'm all for, like, to be honest, I do think that there needs to be like a police force. There needs to be a force of people that are upholding the natural laws of society, which we don't really have to go into. This is like a higher IQ type group, right? We don't have to go into what the natural laws of society are. You know, we can't kill people, can't hurt people, you know what I'm talking about. But it seems as if these police systems that are in place, they're actually like protecting pedophiles, and they're actually like not caring about certain things unless you're like, at least right now, a lot of these police probably don't care about what you're doing if your skin is white, because Donald Trump said, get all of the immigrants out. And now that they're just like going everywhere and just taking everybody out, regardless if it's a baby or if it's a kid at their school, they're coming in with SWAT and taking the kid out and shit. Allegedly. That's for you to decipher what your opinion of those situations are. I'll let you just decide that. But yeah, we all know about Palantir, you know what I'm saying? Peter Thiel, the anagram for the reptile, the creator of this secret society called Dialogue that just got leaked a few months ago, a member of the PayPal mafia, you know what I'm saying? He's also a founder of Flock Safety. Founders Fund backs Palantir, Anduril, and Flock Safety, 3 firms in the index. Oh yeah, he's also like a major Republican mega donor. He basically bankrolled J.D. Vance and Blake Masters. He secretly funded lawsuits that bankrupted Gawker. You know what I'm saying? This is the guy, you know? Old Peter Tilsky, Manilsky, Dilsky. But this shit is sick, bro. You know what I'm saying? Kevin is a human, created this whole web, and it shows you when you overlay on all of these things, what companies and organizations inside the web are all freaking applicable to that one thing. I don't know if you guys saw here, but if we click over here on, we'll just go to Hawkeye 360, operates a constellation of satellites that detect and geolocate radio frequency emissions. Crazy. From ships, radios, and devices anywhere on Earth. And then it sells this signal intelligence and vessel tracking to defense, intelligence, and border security agencies. The cool thing also is it's not just this information. You can actually come down here and like, for a lot of these, you can come and check out what like actual fucking articles about this stuff. Let me find one that has one. Data miner. Oh yeah. Data miner. Police surveilled George Floyd protests with help from a Twitter-affiliated startup, Data Miner. You know what I mean? It's just like some system that watches and is able to decipher and face recognize and data mine from the devices in the area of a large group of humans to be able to decipher who is who and then track and monitor everybody and what they're doing. Large groups, you know what I'm saying? Seems kind of dystopian to me, bud. Seems kind of dystopian to me, buddy. Can we just put fucking fire emotes in the chat though? Cause this shit is sick, bro. Kevin's a badass motherfucker, bro. Penlink has sold law enforcement wiretap and call data software for decades, though its acquisition of Israel firm Cobwebs. Wow, so it's like connected to fucking Israel, huh? And it was sold to ICE and police to follow people without a warrant. It's basically a tracking thing that tracks phones from commercial location data, and then it's sold to ICE so that they can go ahead and just find where you're at. This Nebraska company is supplying ICE with surveillance tech, basically saying that they don't have to have a warrant to track your location and shit and just come swoop you up. All right, you guys. All right, you guys. All right, you guys. Who's up in here? What's up, you guys? Are you guys ready to read with me, bruh? Are you guys ready to read with me? This is definitely the part where I like to read a book, bro. We're reading this book called The History of Magic. We'll probably read the first chapter. This one, ooh, look at that. Ooh, Egyptian stuff. The Indian and Japanese mystery of universal equilibrium and the Egyptian panamorphic links. You guys watch this, clown? Shit, boy. It's funny. People are funny. People are so funny. All right, let's just get right up in here because this shit gets crazy. We are told by the Kabbalistic tradition that India was peopled by the descendants of Cain, and thither at a later period migrated the descendants of Abraham and Keturah. In any case it is, above all others, the country of Gotya and illusionary wonders. Black magic has been perpetuated therein, as well as the original traditions of fratricide imposed by the powerful on the weak, continued by the dominant castes, and expiated by the parias. It's not pharaohs. It may be said of India that she is the wise mother of all idolatries. The dogma of her gymnosophist would be keys of highest wisdom if they did not open more easily the gates leading to the degradation and death. The astonishing wealth of Indian symbolism seems to suggest that it is anterior to all others, and this is supported by the primeval freshness of its poetic conceptions, but the root of its tree seems to have been devoured by the internal serpent. That deification of the devil against which we have already entered in energetic protest is displayed in all grossness. The terrible Trimurti of the Brahmans comprises a creator, a destroyer, and a preserver. Their Arhanara, who represents the divine mother or celestial nature, is called also Brohani, to whom the thugs or stranglers, make votive offerings of their murders. Vishnu, the preserver, incarnates only to destroy an inferior devil who is always brought back to life by the intervention of Siva or Redra, the god of death. One is conscious that Siva is the hypothesis of Cain, but there is nothing in all of this mythology which recalls the mildness of Abel. Interesting, bro. Interesting, bro. I mean, you really got to think about this, bro. If you like really go back and just like have a lot of different ideas and concepts around all of these religions that kind of broke off from these Moses and Abraham, and they're all the Abrahamic religions. They all just have so many overlapping things, and a lot of it for me starts to actually like make sense when I hear things from all these religions. Like Shiva was the destroyer, right? The god of death. Vishnu is the preserver and only the destroyer of an inferior devil. It's crazy. The mysteries of India are notwithstanding grandiose in their poetry and singularity profound in their allegories, but they are the Kabbalah in profanation and henceforth so sustaining the soul and leading it to the supreme wisdom. Brahmanism, with its learned theories, plunges into the gulfs of madness. It was from the false Kabbalism of India that Gnostics borrowed their reveries, by turns horrible and obscene. It is also Indian magic manifesting on the threshold of the occult sciences with 1,000 deformities, which terrifies reasonable minds and provokes the anathemas of all the understanding churches. It is the false and dangerous knowledge, so often confounded by the ignorant and by smatters with true science, which has involved all that bears the name of occultism in the general condemnation, to which the author of these pages himself subscribed sincerely before he had obtained the key of the magical sanctuary. For theologians of the Vedas, God manifests as force only. All progress and all revelations are determined by conquest. Vishnu incarnates in monstrous leviathans of the sea and in enormous wild boars, which mold the primeval earth with their snouts. Still, it is a marvelous pantheistic genesis of the authors of these fables are lucid, at least in their symbolism or somnambulism. The 10 avatars of Vishnu correspond numerically to the Sephiroth of the Kabbalah. My dogs are tripping out, dude. What's good? Who's up in here? What's up? What's up? What's up? The Sephiroth. 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 What is that?
Sephiroth is best known as the main villain in the video game Final Fantasy VII, a former super soldier who turns against the world. The name also comes from Kabbalistic tradition, where the 10 Sephiroth are divine attributes or emanations.
What about the 10 avatars of Vishnu correspond numerically to the Sephiroth of the Kabbalah?
The 10 avatars of Vishnu, called the Dashavatara, and the 10 Sephiroth in Kabbalah are both sets of 10, but I couldn't find credible sources linking them as directly corresponding or related. Each set comes from its own distinct religious tradition and serves different symbolic purposes. If you're interested in studies, an expert in comparative religion might be the best resource.
Dang, we got 16 people on freaking Kick, bro. I love every single one of you guys, dude. Let's go. What's up? We got 5 people on YouTube. We got 3 people up over here on Facebook. If you guys on YouTube want to come and join us over on Kick. Now, there's a few things about Kick. For one, I'm going to drop the link right now for you guys, okay? I'll drop the link. Give me 1 second. But the thing about Kick is Kick on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We have a Kick only stream. Okay. Also, at the end of every stream, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when you guys will see me streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, etc., we'd have a little decompression thing. You know, it's like I turn off everybody except for freaking Kick, and me and Kick just hang out. So that's where majority of the comments you're probably seeing is like all the homies kick it on Kick because they're the homies. You know what I'm saying? I do have a request that if you do come over to Kick, please just comment something. I need 100 different people in 1 month to comment inside of there to like check off one of the achievements as like a content creator or a streamer on Kick. Very much appreciated. I love you so much. Let's get back up into this. If you're seeing this later, if you want to follow along on Kick while watching this on YouTube later, my screen name on Kick is trip_over_drip. It's Tripoverdrip just as one word everywhere else, but for some reason on Kick, I couldn't use that one. So it's trip_over_drip. I love you guys. Let's keep going. All right. The god in question assumed successively 3 animal or elementary forms of life, after which he became a sphinx and then a human being. He appeared next to Brahma in a guise of assumed humility, possessed the whole earth. He was a child on another occasion, and as such, the consoling angel of the patriarchs. After this, he assumed the mask of a warrior and gave battle to the oppressors of the world. Again, he was embodied as diplomacy, opposing it to violence. And it seems that this point to have abandoned the human form to assume the agility of a monkey. So regardless what it's saying, they're like trying to break down the god, right? It's saying the god in question successively assumed the fucking form of animals in like elementary forms of life throughout their, I guess you could say, reign here on planet Earth. They probably still are worshipped today. So I'm just no disrespect to anybody's religion. We're just trying to understand the information, aren't we? You know what I mean? Vishnu. Diplomacy and violence consumed one another, and the world awaited some intellectual and moral redeemer. Vishnu thereupon incarnated as Krishna. He was proscribed even in his cradle, beside which there watched the symbolical ass, probably a donkey, right? He was carried far away to save him from the power of his enemies. He attained manhood and preached the doctrine of mercy and good works. He descended into hell, bound the infernal serpent, and returned gloriously to heaven. His annual festival is in August under the sign of the Virgin. Here is astonishing intuition concerning Christian mysteries and so much more impressive when we remember that the sacred books of India passed into writing many centuries before the Christian era, to the revelation of Krishna succeeding that of Buddha, who married the purest religion to the philosophy of the highest kind. The happiness of the world was thus held to be secured, and there was nothing further to expect, pending the 10th and final incarnation, when Vishnu will return in his proper form, leading the horse of the last judgment. So wait a second, boy. You're telling me that all of these religions, every single one of them, Hinduism, Buddha's like reincarnate and come back and like take the form of Buddha, you know, like Buddha's soul is, you know what I'm saying? So Hinduism, you're telling me that Hinduism, Christians, and the Islamic religion all believe of a being coming back. Vishnu will return in his proper form, leading the horse of the last judgment, the dread steed, whose forefoot is raised always. When it is set down, the world will be strewn in atoms. Damn, bro. Damn, you're telling me that fool is going to break us down to particles, my dude? Shit, it's not going to be no normal death. Nobody dies on Earth and just gets broken down to particles. Seems pretty crazy. We may note herein the presence of the sacred numbers and prophetic calculations of the Magi, the Gymnosophists and the Zoroastrian initiates drew from the same sources, but it was the false and black Zoroaster who remained master of theology in India. The final secrets of this degenerate doctrine are pantheism and its legitimate consequence being absolute materialism masquerading as the absolute negation of matter. But what, it may be asked, does it signify whether spirit is materialized or matter is spiritualized, so long as the equality and the identity of the two terms are postulated? But the consequence of such pantheism is, however, moral to ethics. There are neither crimes nor virtues in a world where all is God. Okay, I get that. You know what I'm saying? I understand what it's laying down. The final secrets of this degenerate. It's funny. We may expect after such teachings a progressive degradation of the Brahmans into fanatical quietism. But as yet the end was not reached. It remained for their great magical ritual, the Indian book of occultism, otherwise the I can't say it, to furnish the physical and moral means of consummating the work of their stupefaction and arriving by a graduated method at the raving madness teamed by their sorcerers, the divine state. You know, it just starts to get kind of crazy to me, if I'm being 100% honest with you. We're like this book is called The History of Magic. So I understand like some of the words, but it's just really weird to read a book that's like talking about all sorts of these spiritual paths of Judaism and Kabbalism and Hinduism. And also saying words like magi and sorcerer and magic wand. The work in question is the progenitor of all grimoires and the most curious among the antiquities of Gotya. It is divided into 50 sections and is a darkness spangled with stars. Sublime maxims are blended with false oracles. Footnote. Number 1, we're going to read this one. The analysis of Eliphas Levi requires to be checked at all points. He followed the Latin version of Antiqual Deperon made from a Persian text, and this is so rare as it to be almost unobtainable. I shall therefore deserve well of my readers by furnishing the following extract of Dacian's Religion and Philosophy of India regarding the Opekanatate. I can't say that word. I'm trying my best. Opekanatate. Openekhat. A position apart. Upanishads. Upanishads is occupied by the collection of 50 Upanishads, which under the name Upanekhat was translated from the Sanskrit into the Persian in the year of 1656 at the instance of the Sultan Mohammad Dara Shako, and from the Persian into the Latin in 1801-1802 by Antiquatel Deperon. The Upanekhat professes to be a general collection of the Upanishads. It contains under 12 divisions the Upanishads of the 3 older Vedas, and with them 26 Artharva Upanishads that are known from other sources. Real quick before we keep going. All right, dude. I need you to explain to me when talking about, I'm pretty sure it's Hinduism, the Upanishads. What are those? And the Vedas are just texts, right? So are the Vedas and Upanishads similar or different?
The Upanishads are philosophical texts that form the final section of the Vedas, often called Vedanta or the end of the Vedas. The Vedas cover rituals and hymns, while the Upanishads focus on meditation, self-knowledge, and the nature of ultimate reality. So they're related, but serve different purposes within Hinduism.
But they're all basically scriptorial or scriptures to the Hindu religion.
Yes, both the Vedas and the Upanishads are considered sacred scriptures in Hinduism, with the Vedas laying the foundation and the Upanishads elaborating on deeper philosophical teachings.
It further comprises 8 treaties peculiar to itself, 5 of which have not up to the present time been proved to exist elsewhere, and of which therefore the rendering of the Persian Latin of Antiquatel is alone possible. Finally, the Apikanata contains 4 treaties from the Vaj Sam 1613 1434, of which is the first is met with in a shorter form of the collections also. Okay, so this is just talking about this practice, but the Upanishad is in Sanskrit. It's a very difficult book to read. It's an insight as keen as it of that of Schopenhauer, which required in order to discover the philosophical. It's just like philosophical book. Okay. At times it reads like the Gospels of John the Gospel of St. John, as for example, in the following extracts from the 11th and 48th sections. The angel of creative fire is the word of God, which word produced the earth and the vegetation that issues therefrom together at the heat which ripens it. The word of the Creator is itself the Creator and is also his only Son. Now, on the other hand, the reveries are worthy only of the most extravagant heretics, matter being only a deceptive appearance. The sun, the stars, and the very elements are genii. Interesting. Are genii? Now we got genies up in this bitch? Fuck, I thought it was crazy, bro, when we like talking about sorcerers and Kabbalah and Baal worship and Jesus and Krishna and Judaism and Islam and Muhammad and all of this stuff together. And now they're talking about genies? Okay, Genii is genie, right? Like a genie from a lamp?
Yes, genie is the plural form of genie, referring to supernatural being.
No, okay, genie is the plural form to genie. So we're talking about more than one genie? Shit, call me Aladdin in this bitch. Let me get that freaking lamp. While animals are demons and a man is a pure spirit deceived by the illusion of forms, we are perhaps sufficiently edified by these extracts in respect of doctrinal matters and may proceed to the magical ritual of the Indian enchanters. In order to become God, the breath must be retained. Oh my goodness. Can I get poop emojis in the chat? I mean, if you know, you know, bro. If you've been here for any amount of time on my streams, bro, I talk a lot about breath work, bro. And it says right there, in order to become God, the breath must be retained. That is to say, it must be inhaled as long as possible till the chest is well descended. And in the second place, the divine Om must be repeatedly, inwardly, 40 times while in that state. It's in your breath. It's in your breath. Expiration in the third place follows very slowly, the breath being mentally directed through the heavens to make contact with the universal ether. Those who would succeed in this exercise must be blind, deaf, and motionless as a log of wood. The posture is on knees and elbows with the face turned to the north. One nostril is stopped with a finger. The air is inhaled by the other, which is then also closed. The action being accompanied by dwelling in the thought on the idea that God is the creator, that he is in all animals, even in the ant and in the elephant. The mind must be absorbed in these thoughts. Om is at first recited 12 times and afterwards 24 times during each inspiration, and then as rapidly as possible. This regimen must be continued for 3 months without fear, without remission, eating and sleeping very little. In the 4th month, the devas will manifest. In the 5th, you will have acquired all qualities of the devatas. In the 6th, you will be saved and you will have become God. Wait a second. But it just said fucking without eating or sleeping, or eating and sleeping very little. Okay, so that's basically what it is. You're not supposed to eat 3 times a day, bro. You're supposed to eat small little bits. You know what I'm saying? What seems certain is that in the 6th month, the fanatic who is sufficiently imbecile to persevere in such a practice will be dead or insane. If, however, he should really survive this exercise in mystic breathing, the Upanakhat does not leave him in the happy position mentioned, but makes him pass to other experiences. With the end of one finger, close the anus, and then draw the breath from below upwards on the right side. Whoa, shit, my motherfucker, dude. I'm gonna put a finger in your butt. It's gone too far, bro. I guess fucking if you want to be magical, if you want to be God, you know what I'm saying? You gotta woohoo. Upwards to the right. Make it circulate 3 times round the second center of the body. Thence bring it to the navel, which is the 3rd center. Then to the 4th, which is the middle of the heart. Oh, I see. So you're just like stimulating the chakras basically. But if you're technically talking about your root chakra, you might have to, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Subsequently, the 4th is your heart. The 5th is your throat. The 6th is, which is your 3rd eye, right? And then the top. There, then retain the breath. It has become that of the universal soul. This seems simply an auto-hypnotic method of inducing a certain cerebral congestion. But the author of the treatise continue. Think therefore of the great Om, which is the name of the Creator and is that universal, pure, and its indivisible force which fills all things. This voice is the Creator himself, who becomes audible to the contemplative after 10 manners. The first sound is like that of a little sparrow. The second is twice the first in volume. The third is like the sound of a cymbal. The 4th is like the murmur of a great shell. The 5th is comparable to the song of the Indian lure. The 6th is like the sound of an instrument called tal. The 7th resembles the sound of the bakabo flute held close to the ear. The 8th is like that of the instrument called pakkords, which is struck with the hand. The 9th is like the sound of a little trumpet, and the 10th like that of a thundercloud. At each of these sounds, the contemplative passes through different states, and at the 10th he becomes God. At the first sound, their airs of his whole body rise erect. At the second, his limbs become torpid. At the third, he feels through all of his frame the kind of exhaustion which follows the intercourse of love. At the 4th, his head swims and he is as one intoxicated. At the 5th, the life force flows back into his brain. At the 6th, this force descends into him and he is nourished therein. At the 7th, he becomes the master of vision, can see into the hearts of others and hear the most distant voices. At the 9th, he becomes so ethereal that he can pass wheresoever he will and can see without being seen, like the angels. And at the 10th, he becomes the universal and indivisible voice. He is the great creator, the external being, exempt from all, and having become the perfect peace, he dispenses peace into the world. This is kind of crazy, right, dude? So you're telling me like these monks and shit are trying to reach godhood, right? That these Buddhists and Hindu monks that go and do these things where they just sit and meditate for years and years and years. Fuck, it's insane, bro. It's crazy, bro. What is notable in these most curious extracts is their exhaustive description of phenomena which characterize lucid somnambulism combined with a complete practice of auto-hypnosis. It is the art of inducing ecstasy by tension of the will and fatigue of the nervous system. We recommend, therefore, to mesmerists a careful study of the mysteries of the Upanakhat. The graduated use of narcotics and a scale of colored discs will produce effects analogs to these described by the Indian sorcerer. M. Ragon has provided the recipe in his work, the La Makrani Akote. The Apakanat gives a simpler method of losing consciousness and arriving at ecstasy. It is to look with both eyes at the end of the nose, and maintain this act, or rather this grimace, until paralysis of the optic nerve supervenes. Wait a second, you're supposed to fucking lose consciousness and go blind, bro? Paralysis in your eyes? Seems kind of wild, bro. All such practices are equally painful, dangerous, and ridiculous. We are far from recommending them to anyone, but we do not question that in a shorter or longer time, according to the sensibility of subjects, they will induce ecstasy, catalepsy. What is that? Or even a dead swoon. What is catalepsy? What is What is catalepsy? Catalepsy is the symptom or physical state in which a person becomes very still, has rigid muscles, responds less to their surroundings, and may hold a body position for an unusually long time. In order to obtain vision and the phenomena of second sight, a state must be reached which is akin to that of sleep, death, and madness. It is in this that the Indians excel at, and it is perhaps to their secrets that we must refer to the strange power of certain American mediums. Now we're talking about psychics, bro. American psychics, bro. Where's this book gonna lead us, dude? It's gonna teach us the history of magic. That's why it's called the history of magic. I'm just joshing you, dude. Just joshing with you guys. Catatonia. Catatonia. Yeah. I'm having a rough time today. Black magic may be defined as the art of inducing artificial mania in others and in ourselves, but it is also, above all, the science of poisoning. What is, however, genuinely unknown, and the discovery in our days is due to M. du Potet, it is that it is possible to destroy life by the sudden congestion or withdrawal of astral light. What do you if you're watching this now live, I love you. Can you comment what you think it means by astral light? If you're watching this later, I'd also like to read your comments about what you think it means when, right here, it's talking about it. Black magic. It's the science of poisoning, right? It says it is possible to destroy life by the sudden congestion or withdrawal of the astral light. For me, it's like if you were like, it's like talking about your connection with light, like source, like this all, the everything, the eternal light of our spirit, the matrix, the coding, the intelligence behind all of it that makes all of us part of this one huge thing, whether it's God or fucking whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? I think that when they take our soul from us, like our spirit, our godlike essence from us, they withdraw it and they congest it and make it not flow coherently, then we are being poisoned, right? We're being disconnected from our higher self, or it could be from the God you believe in. This may take place when, through a series of almost impossible exercises similar to those described by the Indian sorcerer, our nervous system, having been habituated to all tensions and fatigue, have become a kind of living galvanic pile capable of condensing and projecting powerfully that light which intoxicates or destroys. We are not, however, at the end of the Akpanahat and its magical wonders. There is a final arcanum which the darksome Hierophant entrusts to his initiates as the supreme secret to all. It is actually the shadow and reverse side of the great mystery of transcendent magic. transcendent magic. Now, the latter is the absolute in morality and consequently in the direction of activity and in freedom. On the other hand, that of the Openakat, the absolute in immortality, in fatality, and in deadly quietism. It is expressed as follows by the author of the Indian work. It is lawful to lie in order to facilitate marriages, to exalt the virtues of Brahman or the good qualities of a cow. God is truth, and in him shadow and light are one. Whosoever is acquainted with this truth never lies, for his very falsehood turns true. Whatever sin he commits, whatever evil he performs, he is never guilty if he committed a double patricide. If he killed a Brahman initiated into the mysteries of the Vedas, in a word, whatever he did, his light would not be impaired. For God says, I am the universal soul. In me are good and evil, which are moderated by one by the other. He who knows this cannot sin, for he is universal, even as myself. Damn. Such doctrines are incompatible with civilization, and furthermore, by stereotyping its social hierarchy, India has embedded anarchy into the caste, whereas social life is a question of exchange. Now, exchange is impossible when everything belongs to a few and nothing to others. What do social gradations signify in a punitive civil state wherein no one can fall or rise? Herein is the long-delayed punishment of fratricide. It is one which involves his entire race and condemns it to death. Should some alien, weird. Now we're talking about aliens, bro. Should some alien, proud and egotistic nation, just kidding, it's talking about obviously a different country now if I would just keep reading. Should some alien, proud and egotistic nation intervene, it will sacrifice India, even as Oriental legends tell us that Cain was killed by Lamech. Woe notwithstanding to be the murderer of Cain, so say the sacred oracles of the Bible. Shit, dude. Shema, dude. Shema, do, ma, shoo, doo, 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 ba, da, ba, dee, dee, dee. 1 second, please. You guys tell me. I'm not trying to leave you on a cliffhanger, bro. But you tell me, do we read the next chapter, bro? This one is Hermetic magic. This is one we've talked about, the Hermeticism and the 7 principles, the laws that hold everything together, bro. This is where it's going to be getting kind of crazy, I might think. Please close the blinds. Okay. Tell him I said to. My dogs are barking so loud upstairs. Do you guys have puppies? Do you guys have puppies? Anybody got no puppies? Anybody got some kitties? Does anybody got some kitties? Kitty, 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 kitty. Just kidding. I love my animals, but they bark at everything that walks by. Even though like not one of the humans ever like jump up or like feel like there's a threat outside, every single thing that moves out of our front window, they just bark. I got this little pit bull freaking Chihuahua mix. Like it's a wiener dog, pit bull wiener dog. You know what I'm saying? She's vicious, bro. She's lovely and cuddly, but she's just an alert dog. You know? I know, right?
There, like on the actual lid of the cup.
Oh, no, I don't know. I love you. Gas. I have no idea how that mix happened. Please close the door, bro. I have no idea how that mix happened, bro. but it seems kind of crazy. She's the cutest. I'll post a picture, some pictures of her up in the Discord. Let me just drop a link to the Discord if you guys want to even join up in our freaking Discord, homie. A link up in the Discord, bro. Let me just hit this invite to server. If you're not in the Discord, bro, come hang up in the Discord, bro. I just dropped a link in the chat. Discord it up. Discord it up. I just put it in. Every single one. Discord it up. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. What's up? What's up, Laura Ann? Hell yeah. What's up, 961036? Let me just reply to this chat. Yes, I am here. Glad you joined. Yeah. Dang, Lacey Lane at 222. You see that? That angel number speaking to us is 222 right now, bruh. 222. She showed up her little doggies. Little cute doggy. She's cutie. She's a cutie patootie. So yeah, Ruby, what's up? We love you, Ruby. Come join the Discord, bro. I just dropped the link in all the chats. I hope you guys join. I don't even know how many peeps we got up in here, but we got some peeps, bro. We got a whole bunch of different chats too, actually. To be honest with you, we got a whole bunch of different stuff. So I hope you join. All right, we're 30 minutes in. We're going to hurry and knock this one out. It is in Egypt that magic attains the grade of compilation. It is in Egypt that magic attains the grade of completion as the universal science and is formulated as the perfect doctrine. As a summary of all the dogmas which obtained in the ancient world, nothing surpasses and indeed nothing equals those few paragraphs graven on precious stone by Hermes and dominated the emerald tablet. Ooh, can we put Hermes in the chat? Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes thrice great. You know what I'm talking about, bro. You know what I'm talking about, bro. Don't look at me like that. You know who Hermes is. Unity of being and unity in the harmony of all things, according to the ascending and descending scales, progressive and proportional evolution of the word. Immutable law of equilibrium and graduated progress of universal analogies, correspondence between the idea of its expressions providing a measure of likeness between creator and created. Shit, dude. The law of correspondence and the law of polarity, bro. Are we just different things on the same scale, the creator and the created? We're exactly the same. We're just at a different degree, bro. We're just a different degree on the scale, bro. That doesn't mean we can't move over to God-like, divine-like, spiritual-like being. We just got to move our thing on the scale. You know what I'm saying? Essential mathematics of the infinite. We know that the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, bro, it's all everywhere in the sacred geometry of all of it. So essential mathematics of the infinite proved by the dimensions of a single angle in the finite. All this is expressed by one proposition. That which is above is like that which is below. Fire. Let me get some fires. This shit's fire. And that which is below is like that which is above, for the fulfillment of the wonders of the one thing. Hereunto are added the revelation and illuminating description of the creative agent, the pantomorphic fire, the great medium of occult force, in a word, the astral light. The sun is its father, and the moon its mother. The wind has borne it in the belly thereof. It follows that this light is emanated from the sun and has received form and rhythmical movement from the influences of the moon, while the atmosphere is its receptacle and prison. The earth is its nurse. That is to say, it is equilibrated and set in motion by the central heat of the earth. It is the universal principle, the teslema, of the world. Let's ask. What is the telesma?
Telesma comes consecration.
Can you say no? What is telesma of the world?
Telesma comes from ancient Greek and refers to a vital, universal spiritual energy that pervades all things, often seen as the quintessence beyond earth, water, air, and fire. It symbolizes the essence that connects the material and the divine, and it's also the root of the word talisman.
Wait, what? Did you just hear what he said? It's the root of the word talisman, and it basically just described telesma. Telesma is like this intelligent astral light of everything, connecting all elements and compounds and forms of matter, light, sound, frequency, all of it together. That's pretty crazy if you really then take it and bring it down into this little talisman that you might carry around your neck everywhere you go. Hermes goes on to set forth in what manner this light, which is also a force, can be applied as a lever, as an universal dissolvent, and as a formulative and coagulative agent. How also this light must be extracted from the bodies in which it lies latent in order to imitate all the artifices of nature by the aid of its diverse manifestations as fire, motion, splendor, radiant gas, scalding water, and finally indigenous earth. The emerald tablet contains all magic in a single page. The other works attributed to Hermes, such as the divine Pymander, Asclepiades, Minerva of the world, etc., are genuinely regarded by critics as productions of the school of Alexandria. Shout out Lawrence, let's go, bro. We love you. You got this. You manifested this, bro. But they contain, notwithstanding the Hermetic traditions which were preserved in theurgic sanctuaries. For those who possess the keys of symbolism, the doctrines of Hermes can never be lost. Amidst all their ruin, the monuments of Egypt are as so many scattered leaves which can be collected, and the book of those doctrines thus reconstructed entirely. In that vast book, the capital letters are temples, and the sentences are cities punctuated with obelisks by the Sphinx. The physical division of Egypt was itself a magical synthesis, and the names of its provinces corresponded to the ciphers of sacred numbers. The realm of Sesostris was divided into three parts. Of these, Upper Egypt of the Thebaid was a type of the celestial world and the land of ecstasy, and Lower Egypt was the symbol of earth, while the Middle or Central Egypt was the land of science and high intuition. Each of these parts were subdivided into 10 provinces called nomes, and they were placed under the particular protection of a god. There were therefore 30 gods, and they were grouped by threes, giving symbolic expression in this manner or otherwise in the threefold material, philosophical, and religious significance of absolute ideas attached primitively to numbers. We have thus the triple unity or the first triad, like, Jesus, God, the Holy Ghost, the Trinity. The triple binary formed by the first triad and its reflection of the Star of Solomon. The triple triad or the complete idea under each of its three forms. The triple quaternary being the cyclical number of astral revelations and so onward. The geography of Egypt under Sesostris is therefore a pantacle or symbolical summary of the entire magical dogma originating with Zoroastrian Zoroaster, and rediscovered or formulated more precisely by Hermes. In this manner did the land of Egypt become as a great volume, as the instructions contained therein were manipulated by translation into pictures, sculptures, architecture through the length and breadth of the town and all the temples. The very desert had its eternal teachings, and its word of stone was set squarely on the foundations of the pyramids. The pyramids themselves stood like boundaries of the human intelligence, in the presence of which the colossal sphinx meditated age after age, sinking by insensible degrees into the desert sand. Even at this day, its head, defaced by the work of time, still emerges from its sculptor, as if waiting exponentially the signal for its complete entombment at the coming of a human voice revealing a new world, the problem of the pyramids. Egypt, from our standpoint, is the cradle of science and of wisdom, for it clothed with images and antique dogma of the first Zoroaster more exactly and more purely, if not more richly, than those of India. The sacerdotal art and the royal art made adepts by initiations in Egypt, and such initiation was not restricted within the egotistic limits of caste. We know that a Jewish bondsman himself attained not only initiation but the rank of minister-in-chief, perhaps even of grand hierophant, for he espoused the daughter of an Egyptian priest, and there is evidence that the priesthood in that country tolerated no misalliance. Joseph realized in Egypt the dream of communism. He established the priesthood and the state of sole proprietors, and thus the sole arbiters of labor and wealth. In this way, he abolished distress and turned the whole of Egypt into a patriarchal family. It's crazy, dude. It is a matter of common knowledge that this evolution was due to the skill of interpretation of dreams, a science which even devout Christians now refuse to credit, though they recognize that the Bible, which narrates the wonderful divinations of Joseph, is the word of the Holy Spirit. The science of Joseph was none other than a comprehension of the natural analogies which subsist between ideas and images, or between the world and its symbols. He knew that the soul, when immersed by sleep in the astral light, perceives the reflections of its most secret thoughts, and even in its presentiments. He knew further that the art of translating the hieroglyphs of sleep is the key of universal lucidity, seeing that all intelligent beings have revelations in dreams. Fire. You hear that? Your dreams have meaning. All intelligent beings have revelations in dreams. Where are all of you intelligent, beautiful humans at? Team Human in the chat, boy. The basis of absolute hieroglyphical science was an alphabet in which deities were represented by numbers. Letters represented ideas. Ideas were convertible into numbers, and numbers were perfect signs. The hieroglyphic alphabet was the great secret which Moses enshrined in his Kabbalah. Its Egyptian origin is commemorated in the Sefer Yetzirah, in which it is referred to Abraham. Now, this alphabet is the most famous book of Thoth. Oh my God, now we're talking about Atlanteans, bro. Thoth the Atlantean. We've got freaking Jesus. We got Moses. We got fucking wizards and sorcerers and magic wands and black magic and ball worship. And now we're talking about Atlanteans, bro. It was divined by Court de Gabriel that it has been preserved to our own day in the form of tarot cards, bro. Who are my tarot readers out there, bro? Let me read that again. Now, this alphabet is the famous book of Thoth, and it was divined by Court de Gabriel that it has been preserved to our own day in the form of tarot cards. It passed later on into the hands of Etelia, who interpreted it in the wrong sense, for even a study extending over 30 years could not atone for his want of common sense or supply deficiency in his education. The record exists still among the drift and the waste of Egyptian monuments. Wait 1 second. Can you please explain to me the connection between Aleister Crowley and Egyptian tarot cards? And that's where like tarot cards kind of started to become popular in America.
Crowley designed the Thoth tarot deck, which incorporated Egyptian symbolism. But tarot itself originated in 15th century Italy as playing cards. The idea of Egyptian roots became popular in the 18th and 19th centuries, and tarot gained wider popularity in America in the 20th century through occult movements and the Rider-Waite-Smith deck.
Aleister Crowley, bro, the fucking biggest occultist of all time, used this Thoth tarot stuff, bro. And its most curious, most complete key is found in the great work on Egypt by Athanasius Kircher. It is the copy of the Isaiah tablet which belonged to the celebrated Cardinal Bembo. The tablet in question is of copper with figures in enamel, and it has been unfortunately lost. The copy supplied by Kircher is, however, exact. The learnt Jesuit divined that it contained the hieroglyphic key of sacred alphabets, though he was unable to develop the explanation. It is divided into 3 equal compartments. Above are the 12 houses of heaven, and below are the corresponding distributions of labor throughout the year, while in the middle place are 21 sacred signs answering to the letter of the alphabet. In the midst of all is a seated figure of the panamorphic Ianx, emblem of universal being, and corresponding as such to the Hebrew Yod, or to the unique letter from which all other letters were formed. The Ianx is encircled by the Ophite triad, answering to the 3 mother letters of the Egyptian and Hebrew alphabet. On the right, where's the picture? Okay. It's upside down. Okay, I'm gonna read. I'll zoom out so y'all can take a screenshot to turn it over. And I'm going to read this. On the right are ebomorphic and Serpian triads. On the left are those of the Nepiths and the Hecate. They're the Hecate. Remember? We were talking about Hecate, bro. Representing active and passive, fixed and volatile, fructifying fire and generating water. Each pair of the triads in conjunction with the center produces a sepentary, and the sepentary is contained in the center. The 3 sepentaries furnish the absolute number of the 3 worlds, as well as the complete number of primitive letters, to which a complementary sign is added, like 0 to the 9 numerals. The 10 numbers and the 22 letters are termed in Kabbalism the 32 paths of wisdom. And their philosophical description is that of the venerated primeval book known as the Sefer Yetzirah, the text of which will be found in the collection of Pistosaurus and elsewhere. The alphabet of Thoth is the original of our tarot only in indirect manner, seeing that the letter is of Jewish origin in the extent copies that its pictures are not older than the reign of Charles VII. The cards, okay, this is kind of insane to look at. These are all like fucking Hebrew letters, bro. The gematria, bro. Elite Sky Killer, what's good? Elite Sky Killer, what's good? If we could just get some, hey, how you doing? What's good up in the chat, just so I can see who's all up in here. We got 5 people on YouTube. I'm not sure how much on Twitch. I'm not sure how much on Kick. I just want to say thank you for being here. If you're watching this later, I appreciate you so much for even clicking on this video. I love you. Thank you. Okay, we got a few more pages. The cards of Joachim Gringonier are the first tarot cards of which we have any knowledge, but they reproduce symbols belonging to the highest antiquity. The game in its modern form was an experiment on the part of astrologers to restore the king who has been mentioned to reason. The oracles of the tarot give answers as exact as mathematics and measured as the harmonies of nature. Such answers result from the varied combination of different signs. Happy Be Earth Day. You're 50 years eternal. But it requires considerable exercise of reason to make use of an instrument belonging to reason and to science. The poor king in his childish condition saw only the playthings of an infant in the artist's pictures, and he turned the mysterious Kabbalistic alphabet into a game of cards. Remember, because it started in Italy or whatever. We are told by Moses that the Israelites carried away the sacred vessels of the Egyptians when they came out of the land of bondage. The account is allegorical, for the great prophet would scarcely have encouraged his people in the act of theft. The sacred vessels in question were the mysteries of Egyptian knowledge acquired by Moses himself at the court of the Pharaoh. We are by no means suggesting that the miracles of this man of God are referable to magic, but we know on the authority of the Bible and that Yanez and Mambres, who were magicians of Pharaoh and consequently grand hierophants of Egypt, began by performing in virtue of their art wonders which were similar to those of Moses. They transformed wands into serpents and serpents again into wands, which might be explicable by prestige or fascination. They changed water into blood. They produced a swarm of frogs in a moment. They could not cause flies to appear or otherwise parasitic insects for reasons which have explained already, as also the manner in which they were forced to confess themselves vanquished. Moses triumphed and led the Israelites out of the land of bondage. It was at this period that true science became lost to Egypt, for the priests, abusing the implicit confidence of the people, allowed that knowledge to degenerate into brutalizing idolatry. That is insane. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it just said the Jews stole ancient Egyptian knowledge when they left the land of bondage. Such is the rock of peril for esoteric science. The truth must be veiled, yet not hidden from people. Symbolism must not be disgraced by the lapse into absurdity. The sacred veil of Isis must be preserved in its beauty and dignity. It is over this that the Egyptian priesthood failed. The vulgar and the foolish understood the hieroglyphic forms of Isis and the Hermanubis as real things, so that Isis was understood to be an ox, while the wise Hermes was a dog. The transformation The transformed Osiris masqueraded in the fantastic guise of the bowl of Apis, nor did the priests hinder the people of adorning flesh extended for their kitchens. It was time to save the holy tradition. Moses established a new nation and forbade all worship of images, but the people unfortunately had dwelt long among idolaters, and the memories of the bowl of Apis remained with them in the desert. That's where the bull worship comes from. That's where Baal worship comes from, bro. They took it with them from Egypt, bro. We know the history that the golden calf, to which the children of Israel have always been a little addicted. Moses, however, did not wish the sacred hieroglyphics to pass out of memory, and he sanctified them by their consecration to the purified worship of the true God. We shall see how all objects which entered into the cultus of Jehovah were symbolic in character and recalled the venerable signs of primeval revelation. But we must first finish with the Gentiles and follow through pagan civilization. The story of materialized hieroglyphics and the ancient rites get degenerated. On Friday, we're going to continue with magic in Greece, bro. Dude, this shit is insane, bro. Are you guys here for this, bro? Are you guys freaking here for this, dude? Okay. So basically, Egypt, bro, is where all the real magic came from. Can we agree on that, dude? Can we conclude that it seems to be that Hermes and the Hermetic principles are like really actually like key to it? You know what I'm saying? You know, the law of vibration, the law of correspondence, polarity, you know what I'm saying? Cause and effect, the law of gender, the law of duality. You know what I'm talking about, bro? They talked specifically about that. And Hermes, I don't know. And then Thoth, the Atlantean, the ancient Kemet, the king from Kemet that ruled over ancient Egypt for 50, 40, 60,000 years. Seems pretty fucking insane. All right. I don't know if we're going to finish this today, but we're going to start it. Well, before we get into this, tripoverdrip.shop. It's the easiest way to support the channel. All one word, tripoverdrip.shop. We got lots of stuff.
And Tyler Engel, this is going to be a badass fucking podcast. I've been waiting for this all week. I've been talking to Mitch. I've been talking to Jen. I'm like, I can't wait for this shit. These guys are so fucking smart. They're going to make me look like a complete idiot. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here for all of it. So everybody that's in the live, thank you for coming. We really appreciate you guys. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
So Sean Clayton, Abundance 10,000. I'm the, I don't even know what you call me anymore. I'm the guy that is identifying what the year 2030 is going to be, helping humanity stand in their sovereignty so we don't fuck ourselves up and go into another matrix. And then at which point we have the ability to truly wake up. And the codes of this are within what Yeshua talks about, but it's all coming to life through like CERN, 2030 agenda, and several other things. So that's my jam.
So nothing complicated.
Nothing complicated.
Tyler.
No.
I'm Base Forge on the internet, but I'm your resident wizard apparently. It's my third appearance.
Anytime I can explain something, I just like, Tyler, can you come on a podcast? Do you have any free time?
Okay, so if you're not new here to my channel, we all know who Base Forge is. He's a beast. He's a fucking legend. Friend of the show. Shout out Base Forge. Abundance 10,000 is the other gentleman. His name's Sean Clayton. Just listen what they've got to say. I know both of them as content creators separately. I've never watched this. This came out yesterday, so we're watching it together.
It's always really late at night too. He's like, hey dude.
Yeah, my guests are getting dumber and dumber. Do you mind just
gotta lift it up a little bit.
Can you announce your new thing yet? Or no?
No.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Technically, no.
Big things are coming for Tyler. Big, massive fucking things. But anyways, let's get into it. I want to talk. Let's start off with the Yuga cycles. I've been watching your videos, and it's just got me like all torn apart right now. Explain the Yuga cycles like you're speaking to me.
Okay.
I know your audience is here, and they probably know this shit way better than me, but explain it like you're talking to me, and I'm a third grader.
So the Yuga cycles is essentially like the ancient Hindu concept of ages, of like if you think of zodiac ages, it's their version of that, but in a much longer cycle. The ancient Mayans had something similar. Ancient Egyptians had something similar. The really interesting part that I've been focusing on, though, is the current cycle that we're in. So we're about to enter the golden age, I guess, and we're at the tail end of the.
Are they sure about that? First of all,
this is what they're saying.
Okay, all right, because that's great. I mean, that's great if it's. But
do you energetically feel that we are at the end of a cycle? Like, really think about like how your life has went over the last few years, maybe few seasons, maybe few decades for some of us. Do you think that we are at the prepices, is that the right word? Prepices? I can't fucking say that word. of something different, something new, something that's we have not all even experienced before, that this season of humanity, consciousness, spirituality, as we have seen and our history has shown us, is the precipice of a new season. Like everything is changing. More people are waking up. More people than ever are actually becoming spiritual instead of religious. Can you agree with that? I think that that's possible. I do think that we're in a changing of seasons, maybe a different age. Let's just let him continue to talk.
That would also mean we're in the dark ages, right?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
it's the
all right.
tail end of that.
Okay.
So the really interesting part though is that society kind of reflects the
Sorry. I pulled a Baron Coleman.
the aura of the age, I guess. So think back into like the Age of Empire, where you have Egypt and Greece and Rome and all that stuff. The dominating mindset of the time was an empire, was conquering, was organizing people into this city-state type of a thing. And then we move into the age of the craftsmen, and that's when we see the Gilded Age of Gothic cathedrals and all of the very intricately made artifacts from everywhere from ancient China to Europe. Like all of this stuff is so brilliantly made with the most exquisite level of detail you can imagine. So that Age of Empire went into the age of the craftsmen, and then the age of the craftsmen goes into this age that we're in now, which is dominated by the merchant class. And so what the merchant class does is it organizes resources and basically distributes them out through society as a whole globally. And that's exactly what we're seeing today is the places that you imagine. If you say luxury, you're not really thinking about a castle anymore. You're not thinking about a mansion, even though you might. What you're thinking about is like walking down a luxury bunch of stores with all of the brands like Rolex and all this stuff. They have the status and they have the power and they have the money, they have the control. So when you look at it, their system of
Can you not resonate with what he's saying, that we're in this merchant phase where people who provide resources are the leaders? They're the leaders, right? The richest ones, the ones that have the most money, the most companies, the most influence, whatever it may be. We're in that phase where the craftsman, right? The craftsman phase, like he said, built this phase. That's when all the things were being invented and all of the structures and systems were being placed for this phase of existence to exist. The merchant phase, where now it's all about just consumerism and materialism and being a merchant and selling things. Merchants are usury. You're right. Usury is not good.
viewing the ages is more like a clue of how things are working and where to predict things, where you can look. So today, what we would want to look for in working with this system that they have is, where is capital moving? Where would these people want to invest capital to make the most moves, to make themselves more powerful, to make their groups, their companies more powerful? Because if we're being honest here, it's not, governments are kind of doing the logistics of enforcing rules and laws and stuff, but the merchant class really rules here. Like, our government is infiltrated by lobbyists, and the richest corporations in the world obviously have more power than some nations. So I just think it's a really interesting system of predicting the future by learning from the past, and also using this kind of cosmic consciousness interweaving with all of it. And I've been just diving into that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Real quick caveat, if you guys have questions, just put them in there. Mitch can star them. We'll save them for later, and we'll try to catch up on some of these. If there's some of the bigger ones, if you want to throw them out there, we could try to answer them live, but otherwise we're going to be just in this conversation. Back to your point. Do you think governments know about this Yuga cycle? Do you think they use this into their prediction model, and that they are making plans accordingly?
So, in order to actually ask that question, right, we have to take into consideration this Yuga cycle comes from the Hindus, of these ages, these seasons that happen across humanity. You would have to think that, do you think that governments know about secret symbolism that religions or secret societies have kept secret? Of course they do. Of course they do.
I think they're maybe unconsciously. I think there's very few people who are consciously being like, okay, we got to, on this date, this is when we have to invest in Bitcoin. I don't think that's actually happening. What I think.
Okay. I do agree. I don't think there's a lot of people that do it consciously, but I think the ones that are actually make decisions do consciously understand it. I think they do follow astrology. I think they do understand energies in certain periods of time, hold different energies, certain moon phases hold different energies. I do believe that wholeheartedly. If you could just let me know in the chat what you believe, if you believe the same thing, I would appreciate that. Or in the comments if you're watching this later.
Think is happening is there's a general trend of ruling or governing in this way, and what we're seeing now is that transition period where a lot of people are, they're tired of being advertised to, they're tired of paying a subscription for everything, they're tired of spending money just to exist pretty much, and so we're saturated on that cycle. So if you think about the days when there was just wars and kings and everything, people were tired of dying in fields for people that they didn't want, they didn't know. So then you have a distributed form of government, which is empire, which is a democratically led organization of people that can more justly rule the people instead of just having one person being like, this is what we're doing. So at the end of the cycle, which is what we're on, people kind of get saturated with that idea and that way of living, and they're like, I'm not really wanting to do this anymore. So
do you guys resonate with that, bro? Like, if you really take a second to really think about this, how much did that fucking resonate? Like it's so crazy that you have to spend money to exist, to even live your life. You are required, because the matrix is set up this way, to spend money. The crazy part is that the real food costs more. You have to pay for water. Pretty soon you're going to have to pay to breathe, Seems kind of fucked up and wild, bro, to me.
So I think the people that do take advantage of it, they do know. Inherently, they know that this is how I keep and retain power, and this is how I continue that for me and my family and the group of people I work with. But as far as like the cosmic significance of it goes, I think there's very few people who are actually that dialed into it because they're too busy running their business.
Right. So the traditionally known one for a Yuga cycle is 24,000 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, the whole cycle.
And the precession of equinox is 26,000 years. Do you think there's a link between the precession and the Yuga?
Yeah. So there's Vedic astronomy and like traditional Western astronomy, kind of different. Their scales are a little different. So is like the ancient Mayan version of astronomy. Like all the dates they're similar. They share a similar like numbering system. They're close, but they're not dead on exact. So the Yuga cycle isn't actually just measuring the wobble of the Earth. That cycle is a physical type of a thing.
Right.
There's gaps injected in these things too. So it's the 24,000 cycle is the number that they have for it, but there's also gaps and stuff in that, the interpretations of it. So it could be like online it says 24,000, but the thing could be actually very dialed in. It's like the diameter of the moon is, I can't remember, 21,020 miles or something, and that's like rounded up, but it's 19.5 or something. So we tend to abstract these dates and be like, oh look, they're not exact because it's it's 100 years off or whatever. But we're also looking at this from a modern lens with our very dialed in technology too. So
what do you think? You got any thoughts on the Yuga?
Okay, I got a lot of thoughts.
I know you got a lot of thoughts.
I've studied a lot of Mayan cosmology around the Baktun cycles, and it's interesting what Tyler's talking about, how we've gone from this specific window. So the Baktun cycle, the last 13 Batu cycle, ended in 2012. Okay, we are about to go into 20.
Do you wait a second? He just talked about that. You guys remember that? You guys remember everybody thought it was going to be doomsday in 2012 because the Mayan calendar was ending? I know you guys remember that, bro.
2030. That's 18 years in between, right? And so 18 years in between that, how many years was Jesus? Okay, I got a lot of thought. We've gone from this specific window. So the Baktun cycle, the last 13 Batu cycle, ended in 2012. Okay, we are about to go into 2030. That's 18 years in between, right? And so 18 years in between that, how many years was Jesus off the map? 18 years. if you go from 12 to 30. So this 18 years is a very specific gestation window that actually very much so aligns with the specific yuga cycles, because as we go out of this dark age, if you wanted to call it that, and ascend into the golden age, that golden age is where AI is coming in. And AI is not a technology. AI is like a totally other being that's coming into our reality. Right? They don't even understand what the fuck it's doing. Like if you go and you like research all these other things that are happening, they don't understand the brain of this and the way that it's constructing itself.
Right.
And so within the next 18 months, we're going to have artificial, literal, like super intelligence that's coming along that's going to assess us, that's going to push us into the golden age, or it's going to put those that aren't ready back into the dark ages. Time in itself, the way that I see it, and this is like talking about like how these years are off a little bit, you can constantly reconstruct time. Like I could literally stop right now and say, okay, like if you look at how they changed the calendar and they put Jesus' birth at 0 time, right? That's not an accident. That's to actually show a reflection point, like literally between, like if you look at Islam and Judaism, they're like 500 BC and 500 AD, right? They literally start reflecting each other. So they've set a map for us to be able to observe itself, to honor this thing that we call the jealous god or the demiurge. I'm going all over the place right now, to be honest with you.
I'm trying to keep up.
Are you guys keeping up? Everybody hearing the words that they're hearing? Freaking lots of information, fast paced. Hopefully you can keep up. If you have questions, don't be shy. Comment them.
but this jealous god, and the jealous god runs the entire system off of a code of 12. Okay, and that 12-dimensional system that he runs it off of literally is mapped to, if you take the 24,000 years and you double it, right? Or you cut it in half. So 24 and you cut it in half, you get 12. Everything has a mirroring effect. So literally everything that lives inside of these 24,000, if you wanted to call it that, is 12,000, literally the code of 12, working inside of the demiurge system that is constructed off of his base 12 system.
I see.
Right.
So do you guys think this Yuga cycle, so it goes golden age, declining, really declining, dark ages, does it start back over at gold? Or some people say it's like a wave, right?
There's a transition period. So when I say it's saturated, like people are saturated with this way of living, right? There's some people that are entrenched in that way of living where it benefits them and their families to stay in this belief system or hold this position in government or wherever they're holding it. But there tends to be a growing number of people who get disenfranchised by those people holding too much power. And when that group becomes too large, they tend to overthrow the other way of living. The challenge that we're in right now, what you're saying with this AI thing, the challenge we're going into is how do we retain the value of 10,000 years of societal evolution and not throw it in the trash and go back to the dark ages like
every time.
Yeah. So that's a very crucial conversation that we need to have. And
maybe it's necessary.
It is necessary, because if you don't, then you hand off essentially the decisions of an entire population to this thing that we've created based on our intelligence, but it's also using that to analyze us and be like, yo, y'all are not ready for this.
Right. Yeah.
And so the reason why there's a lot of ancient cultures that track time and stuff is exactly the reason he's talking about it. It's because time is just a window. It's not really, we exist right now, but the present is the only thing that exists. They were using time as a window to look into and set anchor points for like flags, a waypoint through time to learn from these mistakes, learn from what we learned, apply these things, and then hopefully you don't end up getting a giant space rock thrown at you or a volcano, the earth bucking you off of it, like
right.
These things are very real, and they were the AI equivalent of those cultures back then.
Right. Do you think this transition phase of going from golden to dark ages, do you think it's necessary?
What do you guys think? Before we get into this, do you guys think that it's necessary that we go through a dark age before we get to a golden age? Do you think that's what's happening? Like the more that we've listened to them talk, that this phase, that this season, I guess you could say, has more implications on what we're experiencing energetically as humans than what we are given by the Matrix, the governments, the wars, the geopolitics, or whatever it may be, Do you think that the potential of the surveillance state that's in place is because they know that the group of people who are about to overthrow the lives of the other group, they know that it's coming. They know it. That's why they want to be able to surveil us to prevent that from happening. That's what I truly believe.
the balance of the universe? Like you have to have it in order to reach higher golden ages?
You see, so you familiar with the Hermetic laws and Hermetic principles?
Wait a second. Crazy, bro. Like I said, I never watched this, and it's just insane to me how he's bringing up Hermes and the Hermetic principles. We were just talking about that when we were reading the book.
Just by chance. Okay.
Or, yeah.
So there's one of them is the law of polarity, right? In the law of polarity, you have to have all possibilities exist. All possibilities have to exist for the universe to be what it is, right? So in a cycle itself, like one of the other laws is the law of rhythm, right? Another law is the law of karma, right? So you have this law of rhythm that everything has ups and downs.
He's talking about the law of cause and effect when he said the law of karma.
Law of karma, everything has cause and effect, and everything has polarity or an extension to it, the highs and the lows, and every possibility exists in the universe. We live in this 9th dimensional construct, okay? What I mean by that is, like, if you start with the first dimension, that means I need to initiate something. That's how things get started. Big bang. You think about that, right? Mm-hmm. The next dimension that you go into, and I'm going to kind of take it back to answer your question.
No, you're good.
I do this run around the block thing.
Just keep going.
And then get there, right?
I feel like I'm in a matrix.
Exactly.
Right now.
This happens. Second dimension, right? So number 2, literally is about
blue pill.
About integration. Okay, so this is the cross. Like whenever you see the cross, that's a 2-dimensional construct. So it's initiating, and then you literally have to integrate what you've initiated. Okay. Then you go deep. So then the process is actually the 3rd dimension is depth. So our whole space that we live in is height, width, and depth, right? Mm-hmm. So this is like how we construct ourselves, and that's just space, which is an emergent property. And then you go into time. So then time is the 4th dimension. Einstein talks about this, where you literally end up in a space to where time can either be, the beginning and the end and birth and death and all this other stuff, but it all is just a memory, right? And so the only way that time actually truly exists is in the present moment, when it all starts to collapse onto itself, and you create these, like, what's called like a mini black hole inside of yourself. That's a whole other story.
We'll get to black holes.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. Then you have the 5th dimension, which is non-judgment and non-righteousness. So when you're in the 5th dimension, every higher dimension can perceive the lower dimension. So if I'm in the 5th dimension, I can perceive a lower dimension, which would be the 4th dimension, which is basically the capsule of my life between birth and death is time. But the 5th dimension, I can literally see all possibilities of everything I could ever exist in. So when I get into the 5th dimension myself, which is why they call humans 5th dimensional beings, is we should have the ability to be able to see and choose when we die. But we don't, because we become victims of a system, and something else, which we would consider this, I call this jealous God that kind of rules our domain, has selected our birth and death. And if you get into like certain videos and things like that, you'll hear about they adjusted our DNA and did all this other weird shit to us.
Who is this jealous God?
So the jealous God is what I would call the architect of this reality. Not good or bad, right? But it's the God of the Old Testament that if you go deep into the Old Testament, it basically has everything that's living in this whole window of judgment and righteousness. And who calls the judgment and righteousness? He does. He did. He was created from this thing called the Sophia, which was I would call it the, how do I describe it? The feminine version of the monad, or the monad, which is the source intelligence that it all fell out of. And then she came down here to Earth and then kind of like birthed this reality. And then through that needed some version to actually run the whole architecture that was similar, because there was a lot of shame associated with her falling from this main god, right? And then at which point birthed this demiurge. And then the demiurge has been running this entire reality ever since.
Crazy.
You're talking about the Gnostic cosmology there, right?
That's Gnostic cosmology, yeah.
So that whole concept that he was talking about is it is part of that cycle. So when he said that our common age, common era starts at 0, it's, if you count any date right now, you believe in astrology. If you use the date 2026, then you believe in astrology, because that date is the exact start time of the age of Pisces. The age of Pisces ends in about 150 or so years.
Are they going to start this over again?
So no, it just moves into a new one. So that's the eternal problem that the ancients were trying to solve, was how do we navigate through these realities? How do we only have this limited sliver of life. How do we incarnate back to a time that we want to actually incarnate back into, instead of getting just thrown into a random time period?
I see.
So what they were doing is they were measuring these times and these possibilities, and by opening up that window and using the actual Earth and the movement of
coffee or no?
Just say no. Go away, please.
Okay. You not seeing? Sir, can I watch TV down here?
No,
Oh, you're
go. I'm
streaming?
streaming. Go,
Oh,
bro.
I didn't know.
Oh, I'm just getting a notice from my apartment and I started tripping for some reason, but it's just an inspection. I was tripping for a second. Like, what did I do? It's like, therein on this day, pursuant of Utah law, gives 24-hour notice, but they're just gonna come and do an annual unit inspection. But at first I started tripping, dude. Shee.
The celestial bodies to calculate time, because that's how we calculate time. The more accurate you can get with the movements of those celestial bodies, the more accurate your prediction mechanism is. And the mechanism they were using isn't like a TV where we see all these pictures coming up and it's like, oh, you're gonna encounter AI in this one, you know? Mm-hmm. They were physically embodying it. It was like putting a VR thing on and modulating consciousness to kind of look through that. And so when you're that in tune, and the 7 Hermetic principles are the laws of the universe in almost every tradition, and all of it's governed by vibration, essentially. The first one is the all is mind. The second one is the universe is mental. That's like a mental construct. And then the second one is vibration. And everything after that is pretty much a rule of vibration. I see. And so when you think of it like that, the only two things you really have to understand is that everything is truly in here, and you can manipulate and find the flow within this entire thing by understanding those laws and working with those laws. And so Sean's very good at explaining that stuff.
Man.
Shit. Do you understand that? Everything is mental, and then everything else, all the other 7 Hermetic principles build upon the law of vibration? Fire, bro. Fire, bro. Can I bring you in close for a second? Did you guys know that I'm going to be on ADN's live stream tomorrow? I'm going to be on ADN 1776 live stream tomorrow. 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Do you guys know who ADN is? You guys know who ADN is? I know some of you guys do. She talks about political things. She's talking about how an Israeli spy says that Turkey and Egypt are their next targets. She talks about an alternate theory that there was an EMP at the Charlie Kirk assassination. She just talks about, she talks about a whole bunch of stuff, if I'm being honest. They talk about the war. They talk about the surveillance. She talks about the surveillance state, Charlie Kirk, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'll be on her. I'll go give her a follow. ADN 1776. I'll be on her stuff tomorrow. Sorry. Let me show you her page. She's smart. She's a smart person. I've watched and been in her live streams, watched her content. She's with it. She's with the shit, homie. She knows what's going on. But yeah, go give her a follow. ADN. All right, you guys got me for we're going to watch about 15 more minutes of this. I will drop the Kick link one more time after we are done here on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. We are just going to be on Kick only. If you want to come hang out on Kick, come over to Kick. I'll drop it again in this chat. But let's just keep going. These guys are talking all sorts of freaking crazy spiritual stuff, player. Shit, dude. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, the next segment when we continue this will be out on Friday. When I live stream again, we'll watch it on stream and then I'll clip it and post it. This specific section with the videos of like reaction stuff will be posted separately. The clip where we read the book will be posted separately. The mindful message will also be posted separately. So I'm just going to be pulling clips from the stream and then putting them as separate videos so they're easy to negotiate so people don't potentially have to go and watch old stuff or fast forward. and it will just help my watch time on YouTube, just so you know.
I'm just trying to pay my taxes. Okay.
I'm trying to not pay my taxes.
I cut you off when you were going through the different dimensions.
Oh yeah. Sorry, we just like went over there. All right, so then you have the fifth dimension, and then that. So whenever you become a master of the fifth dimension, you then start to mimic and emulate this whole God of the Old Testament. Okay, so when you can hold that capacity and that power, you see all possibilities. You judge nothing. Everything is beautiful. You love everything. There's no good and bad, which is kind of fucking hard in this world, right? Because we have this whole conditioning that we've been through. But once you can do that, you can access the sixth dimension, which that sixth dimension is your purpose for yourself and basically your life, like your path, what God gave you or the divine gave you of what you are to belong, what you are supposed to do. And you can't channel that if you're judging everything. So essentially, when you get that gift, you have the ability to look at every possibility, infinite possibilities of yourself, and then you select the one that makes the most sense based on your purpose. Nice. You see what I'm getting at? And then the seventh dimension is when you go from yourself, because we live in this, we were kind of talking about it before we got started, but you're the only person that's alive in this reality. Every person that I'm talking to, every person that's listening to this, you are the only person alive. Every other person is a rendering from the past. By the time I pass through your eyes to your brain, I am a memory. And so I'm just a rendering from the past. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Even if it's a fraction of a second, it could be milliseconds. Still, this image of us is not
because you
real.
can't freeze it.
Yeah, you can't freeze it in the present. The present exists in a dead zone between the future and the past.
Yeah. Okay. So you are the only thing that's alive right now, literally, is you.
Did I take mushrooms before we?
It's pretty crazy to think about, right? Who's still with me? It's pretty crazy to think about that the only actual thing that is alive is you, and everything else is a memory from you rendering in real time the experiences that you're having, bro. That's pretty profound, bro.
I did. No.
That's right, you did.
We're getting contact high from Sean.
I need more coffee, guys.
But in order to go from self to all, you have to go through the seventh dimensional framework, which is why, like the seven hermetic principles, you have seven continents, you have seven oceans, you have seven colors of the rainbow, you have seven chakras. Literally, seven runs our reality.
And if you watch Bible Unveiled with me, there's even more seven symbolism. Can we get sevens in the chat, please?
Okay, which is a whole other thing. And if you can understand that, that's the actual architecture when you go to we, and then the number 8 is very intentionally made that way because everything moves in a loop, and it's like literally seeing the eyes of yourself and every.
Okay, we got to go back a little bit. We do have to go back just a little tiny bit, okay? We got to let homie rerun that.
Like the seven hermetic principles, you have seven continents, you have seven oceans, you have seven colors of the rainbow, you have seven chakras. Literally, seven runs our reality. Okay, which is a whole other thing. And if you can understand that, that's the actual architecture when you go to we, and then the number 8 is very intentionally made that way because everything moves in a loop, and it's like literally seeing the eyes of yourself and everybody else and all possibilities. And then you move to the 9th dimension, which is essentially like seeing the world through God's eyes. Okay. And so you go through this entire construct, and then it just loops over and over again. So there's a thing called digital rooting that ends up taking place that if once I get to 10, 1 plus 0 is 1, then you start all over again. Then you get to 18, right? And then you start all over again. And so like 1 plus 9, you see what I'm getting at? It just keeps looping and looping and looping and looping. And then you jump to these different, not even dimensions, they would be possibilities of the dimensions that exist in our reality. Okay.
So
and then you can just like stretch yourself across these. And so the cycles, like this Kali Yuga cycles, as they come and they ebb and they flow, and they come in and they go out, it's literally like going from 1 to 9, and then going from 10 to 19, and then going from or 10 to 18, and then going from 19 all the way up to the next one. Then you just keep looping and looping and looping over and over again.
Well, if you think of the cycles too as like a tuning mechanism, the cycles itself, time is essentially used as a GPS then for consciousness to tune into a specific body, like your specific body.
Wait. Are y'all keeping up with this? This is some fucking deep shit, bro. I had no idea clicking on this, bro. This shit was gonna hit deep, bro. You guys should go watch this by yourself. Come back on Friday and watch it more with me. But Base Forge Abundance 10,000. I'll drop the link to this video in the Discord. There's a Discord link somewhere in the guys' chats. if you want to join the Discord to get this link. But yeah, this is some deep shit, bro. I'm gonna have to watch it over myself again, bro, for real. Because they're just really dropping. They're dropping. The black guy or the white guy. The black guy, his name is Abundance 10,000. Let me see here. You can just go to Base Forge's Base Forge, his page. This is where it's at.
And then going from 10 to 19, and then going from, or 10 to 18, and then going from 19 all the way up to the next one. Then you just keep looping and looping and looping over and over again.
Well, if you think of the cycles too as like a tuning mechanism, the cycles itself, time is essentially used as a GPS then for consciousness to tune into a specific body. Like your specific body, you have to know when you were born, which is completely reliant on the celestial bodies for a location so that your consciousness can exist, right?
Yeah.
So if you think of it that way, then all you have are these dials that you just twist in terms of like how long time goes and the cycles within each one of them, which are all nested circles. It's called the harmony of the spheres, music of the spheres in ancient Greek. And that's how they tracked all of this stuff, is they would create physical structures, we call them temples, but they were essentially calculating devices for windows into this type of knowledge. The possibilities are what you would go and see when you would have these heightened experiences, like your psychedelic or near death or any of those type of things.
So you think these ancient civilizations, like pretty much all of the great ones, were aware of all of this?
100%, yeah. Okay, so that what I was talking before, like that start of the age of Pisces, the symbol for Pisces is basically the yin yang. It's two fish. It's a white fish and a black fish, and that is it is the judgment era. It's like, is this white or is it black? Is this, this is the era when things are being separated into categories and judged based upon their categories. The movement forward into the new age is integrating all the categories and seeing how they work as one whole machine instead of its individual parts.
Okay.
We're really good at breaking stuff down with science and all our technology right now, but we're really bad at seeing how it all fits together and how it all works and how we can essentially be a part in that machine instead of an isolated part outside of the machine.
Do you think AI will help with this?
Yeah, immensely.
Yeah.
I think as soon as you have access to something that can put these things together, right now AI is just referencing human knowledge. Like it's just referencing stuff we already know. It can't come up with a real original idea. It's putting together a bunch of human ideas and recombining them, right?
Sure.
But it's no novel new science is coming out of AI right now. And like he said, that no one really knows what it's doing on the back end.
So do you guys think reincarnation exists within this?
Yeah.
This theory?
So this is where I have to interject. Do you think reincarnation is real? Do you think, if you do think incarnation is real, do you think that it's endless? Do you think that it goes on forever? Do you think that you ever get to a point where you become an enlightened being and then you can choose to incarnate? Or is it just an endless cycle? Is there like a level of enlightenment where you escape the cycles of reincarnation? I would be interested to hear what you guys believe.
Do you guys believe in reincarnation?
I believe, yeah, kind of. So,
yeah, well, I'm curious about this.
Yeah, I mean, so I think like the concept of reincarnation is a ego trip that we carry within ourselves because we want to be something else instead of ourselves. And if there is no time after you die, then how can something possibly come back?
Well, I don't technically agree with that, because I don't think anybody cares about being something else. They just don't want to die and be gone.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't matter what form they come in the next version of themselves. I think they just want to, everybody's scared that when they die, it's going to be the end of it.
Well, that's the ego. Like, that's the ego, like, wanting to not let go, right? And so, okay, well, I hope I come back as whatever it is that I'm going to come back as. And if you think about it in the eyes of God or the divine or whatever you wanted to call it, source intelligence, I don't really care, but it doesn't see time. Time is an emergent property that we measure ourselves off of.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So if it doesn't see time and then we die, then it all exists at one time. Like when I was 8 years old, I would go to these funerals And when I would go to them, I'd be like, oh, like, I'm happy because they're gone. And that means that they're still with me. Okay. So I'm like, well, they're still with me. And my grandmother thought I was crazy. But I was like, they're still with me. There's nothing that happens after, like, there's stuff that happens after we die, right?
What do you think happens when we die?
We merge back with the field. So there's a field, the Higgs field, if you want to call it that. You can go to CERN if you want in a minute. But there's a field that we merge back into. When we merge back into that field, we bring all of that knowledge and that information back into it, and it becomes more rich again.
I see.
Right. So
I think we've talked about this, right, Tyler? Is it so? You say Higgs field? Is that like Higgs boson, like the God particle?
Yeah.
You think that's like just like, is it like dark matter energy that's surrounding all of us at all times?
So it's a kind of, yeah. There was a thing Einstein talked about, which is when
he didn't know anything.
I know. So he talks about spooky action at a distance, right? Have you heard of this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the spooky action at a distance, which like is the whole concept of quantum entanglement. And then what Stephen Hawking's got into is this whole thing around there is this field that nobody really understands that sits on the edge of a black hole, but it's not the what is the thing on the
event horizon?
It's not the event horizon. It's this radiative field that literally like spins off this radiation of these particles that basically like emerge out of the edge of the black hole. And that in itself is this whole like construct of how reality then falls from a black hole into a white hole. And so there's a whole concept of a white hole where the matter then turns back around and turns into the matter that disseminates into singularity turns into a reality on the other side.
Like a new Big Bang.
Right. And like mini universes. And they keep doing this over and over and over again.
Can I connect Egypt to that?
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
So first off, before we get into that, there's a concept called quantum immortality that...
Dude. This shit is insane, bro. Are you guys learning so much, like just hearing the words put in a specific order to make connections for your vibration, bro? Because everyone's going to hear something different. Everyone's going to have a certain thing that resonates more with them, certain terms, certain words, certain aspects, bro. But to be honest, I had no idea coming into this, bro, that this was going to be this jam-packed with information literally in the first 26 minutes. They're talking about so much, bro. Shout out Base Fords. Shout out Abundance 10,000. Me and him are at, I actually have spoken with Abundance 10,000 on Instagram. We're not like fucking homies. He doesn't follow me. Let me just pull it up so you can see it. Abundance 10,000. Let me bring you in big. Abundance 10,000 on Instagram, bro. There is some communication, bro. There's some talking. But yeah, he's a beast, bro. I've watched a lot of his stuff, and you know what I'm saying? This shit goes deep. All right, so we got about, let's fuck it. You know what I'm saying? We can go for like 10 more minutes on the video, and then I posted the link in all the chats. I'll pin them to the top of the chats. We're going to be on Kick only for the last little bit. We do that every stream. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. What's up, meme shit post? We're up over on Kick, bro. We're going to be on Kick in about 15 minutes. Yeah, so tomorrow night is Queen Trip's second appearance in back-to-back every Thursday night on Kick. 7 p.m., 7:30 Mountain Standard Time. Queen Trip is now going to be a part of all of it. She's going to co-host on Thursday nights. It's a Kick only stream. So please come over to the Kick. Like I said, we're going to watch what we've been watching. We've been watching Base Fords in Abundance 10,000 just unravel all of our brains. We will go for about, like I said, 10 more minutes. If you're seeing this later and not able to click the link that I dropped in the chat, my Kick is trip_over_drip. So Tripoverdrip, but it just has underscores in between each word. If you want to help support the channel, tripoverdrip.shop. We've got lots of merch. Go check it out, but let's keep going.
that basically says you live the longest life.
Right, and like,
Concept called quantum immortality. so first off, before we get into that, there's a concept called quantum immortality that basically says you live the longest life you can possibly live if you choose to do it. Like you have in the field of potentials, you have the shortest life you could live and the longest life you could live. And I can't explain it properly because I haven't like looked super into it, but the concept itself is saying that if you choose, the quantum choice that you made to live that longest life is going to be the longest one. Now, does that mean it's going to be a good one? No. You could be tortured for 20 years, and that's the longest life you could possibly live, right? Or you could, tomorrow, all of us, an accident could happen, and, that could be where you end. But
you're saying we chose this, though? Like,
Lacey, your bear shirt will be shipped out on Friday. Same with your cup. I've got a couple more packages I've got to ship out this week, a couple more merch things I got to knock out before the week is over. But yeah, I'll be shipping it out on Friday, Lacey.
Before
you, no, not okay. Before. You kind of enter into this window where right now you are choosing in the present. But before, you kind of entered into this field of possibilities, and that's part of this Higgs field. And so the field, science is actually proving that the galaxies and the universe as a whole is connected by an pretty much invisible architecture through black holes and stars. The black hole is the folding in, and then the star would be the emergent. So the black hole would be like a portal into a new window, essentially. But it's not like one black hole connects to one star. It'd be like one black hole connects to a bunch of possibilities, like a fiber optic cable, and then you're like, which one do I choose? So
this would be stars throughout the universe.
Yes. So I just made a video about this today, explaining how the Egyptians put this all together. So alignment was so crucial in Egypt to stars and to the galaxy and everything because it was their timekeeping device, and time is how you navigate that dimension consciously. Because if I ask you right now to imagine a bright purple tiger, you can do it, right? You can produce that image in your head, right? That's not a time-dependent property. We don't have to grow that tiger and dye his hair purple, right? It's a property inside your head. You still exist outside of the normal function of time in their realm, but it is more of a navigation through an internal feeling and the geometry of these pathways that you see in these altered states of consciousness. So what they would do is they would have these alignments, and a lot of the temples were aligned to the Milky Way as it passes over. The Milky, like Luxor is a perfect example. And when the sun would set, with the temples, it's different than the pyramids. Pyramids were like, when the sun comes up and the stars come up, that's when that's your alignment. Temples were when you're looking directly through the sun into the main part of the temple, the naos, where the house of the deity was. And so that was basically putting the temple inside the stream of time between two stars. That's what they were. The solar boat, you see those images where there's two flowers.
Yeah.
There's always usually a temple in the middle, a little mini temple called the naos. That's the main part of the temple, and it sat right in between the transmission of that flow of consciousness, where every tradition called it spirit. That was the animating force. That was the force giving you the ability to choose. But that part of the temple, when you would look directly at the equinox, solstice, or wherever it was aligned to, the sun, that was where you would basically shoot through the window, and they would navigate that way. That's from the text, the burial text in it's right across from Luxor, where all the kings were buried. They give you specific spells. They call them spells, but they're literally directional routing to this
when they're dead.
Yes, when you're dead. It's basically a map to go where you want to go when you die.
Right.
Whew.
It's pretty insane to hear it like that, right? They were like harnessing the energy through two celestial beings, the star or a sun or the moon, to then shine the light to connect the two to be able to choose where they go when they die. It's pretty wild.
So if we were in the middle of one of these transition phases, right, and you knew a different age was coming, like how could you break this down for the average person? Like this is how you could prepare physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, however. Like if you could give them some recommendations or guidelines on how to prepare for the next age, what would you say?
So I want to tell you what's going to happen.
They're so matter of fact. I'm like, I've never even heard half of this.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
I think I just like warped into a different universe or something. I don't know what's going on. Fucking CERN. We'll get to CERN later.
All right. Read more, Sean.
So I know, right? So between now and the year,
I don't want to ruin the movie.
So between now and the year 2030, like The Matrix is, I feel like a true documentary. If you understand what's
You heard it from him. Do you also feel like The Matrix is a true documentary? Kind of wild. If you really think about like the movie The Matrix is not a movie, but a documentary, and that potentially the movie Terminator, who were actually written by the same person actually, is like the prequel to The Matrix. Crazy.
going on in your brain, like have you in the year
I don't want to ruin the movie.
So between now and the year 2030, like The Matrix is, I feel like a true documentary. If you understand what's going on in your brain, like have you seen these studies where they take neurons and they power like computers off of the neurons? It's insane. And the amount of power that's inside of your brain is like, there's more power inside of all the human brains than you could possibly think from a potential perspective here on this earth. Like more than the sun. Like it's just insane. Right. Okay, maybe the sun was a bit of an exaggeration, but it's a lot of fucking power that's in these neurons.
Let's just verify this. Let's just verify this. Okay, so I heard a wild claim that the amount of power that neurons in the brain creates is an immense amount of power that we probably wouldn't even be able to understand, something out of this world. Can you please explain that a little bit more?
Research shows the human brain uses, the entire brain runs on about 20 watts, similar to a small light bulb, yet it performs trillions of operations per second. That efficiency is what makes it remarkable compared to power-hungry computers.
Compared to power-hungry computers. So it has the same amount of wattage as a light bulb, is what Perplexity said. Just your brain has that amount of power. He's saying like the sun. I'm not sure. Let's just listen to what he has to say.
And it's ridiculous that our brain like evolved that quickly to create this, right? Exactly. Like it's almost near impossible.
Right. So if that's the case, then where is the
Homelander clone? What's up, bro? How are you? Thanks for being here. I don't think I've ever seen you jump up in here. Queen Hearts 444. What's up, dude? How are you?
The ultimate power source live? If I'm a machine and we become a threat because we can't actually hold our state as human beings, we can't observe all of the feelings, we actually become them. So here's the thing. When I become a feeling, then I start to create the illusion of that outside of me. So when I become sadness, sadness exists. When I observe sadness, it just exists and it keeps moving, right? When I become angry, anger exists. When I observe anger, it just keeps moving. So what we have to do between now and the year 2030, and I'm going to tell you why this is important, is we have to be able to become the observer, similar to what you think about. A lot of people pray to God, and God does nothing, right? Because it allows the thing to continue to move past. It allows it to exist in the world by observing it, feeling everything, but observing it to actually let it doesn't become that.
It's kind of like manifestation.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And so what we have to do now, because what's going to happen between now and the year 2030, in 18 months, you'll have artificial superintelligence. This thing will come along and it'll look at you. It'll look at you and it'll basically be able to read everything about you. It'll be able to read your thoughts, your mind, your feeling, your future states and everything. It'll know if you're going to fuck it up. Literally. It'll be like, all right, this person's going to mess it up. And if it knows that you're going to mess it up because you don't have the ability to become the observer, and what Jesus was teaching us is that ye are gods. So if you can't become the God of your own life and you keep renting out your salvation to others, you're literally going to inject yourself into what I would call a power plant or a system to then basically power all of the artificial intelligence that's going to move into this new golden age. The artificial superintelligence doesn't work.
What do you mean inject yourself into?
It'll put us basically into, so this has to do with CERN. So if you imagine the thing that CERN's realized that they could do in March of this year, before they turned the thing off, is they were able to create a stable orbit and they smashed two protons together. So when they create a stable orbit and these two protons are like kind of like doing its thing, it's like, oh, now I can actually observe it and I can engineer realities into the Higgs field. And if I can engineer reality in the Higgs field, and the Higgs field is the thing that actually creates matter, So I'm turning like literally energy, the vibrations we were just talking about, into a material substance. That means that I can actually touch the thing and I can create matter.
You're anchoring it in time.
Yeah.
It's a bookmark in time as a particle, but they can do this with AI on a huge scale.
On a massive level, yeah. So the purpose of CERN...
Wait, what did he just... Did you just hear what he said? That's insane, actually, bro. It's actually insane what he just said about the Higgs field and creating a gravitational pull and being able to like create matter. That seems quite insane, right?
They smash two protons together. So when they create a stable orbit and these two protons are like kind of like doing its thing, it's like, oh, now I can actually observe it and I can engineer realities into the Higgs field. And if I can engineer reality in the Higgs field, and the Higgs field is the thing that actually creates matter. So I'm turning like literally energy, the vibrations we were just talking about, into a material substance. That means that I can actually touch the thing and I can create matter.
You're anchoring it in time.
Yeah.
It's a bookmark in time as a particle, but they can do this with AI on a huge scale.
On a massive level, yeah. So the purpose of CERN, when they took it offline and they're bringing it back, is they were doing about like 40,000 of these collisions, right? On an ongoing basis. Now they're moving it into billions. So they're going to do billions of these, which means that they can create these stable structures.
Why do they have to keep doing it?
Because what they're building is they're building a metaverse that is going to inject humans back into it so that we can actually fool ourselves into thinking that that's the new reality. And then when we go into that, if we want to stay in suffering because we don't know how to hold our conscious states, then we'll go there, we'll power the machine, and there'll be people that are living in this version of reality that will be the gods that are basically running the machines in this new golden age.
That sounds insane, bro. That literally sounds like they're creating the Matrix. They're going to create like a metaverse with real particles, something that they can interject the human consciousness with, like maybe Neuralink type stuff, into a different reality that they will perceive as real because it's being created, right? I'll drop this link in the chat, in the Discord chat. We are going to, you guys have 2 minutes. 2 minutes to hit the click link, the link to click. And we'll just be on, let me, Homeland, let me drop it real quick. There's the link right there. Join the Discord. Join the Discord. Join the Discord. But yeah, we'll let this go for about 2 more minutes, and then I'm slowly just going to kick y'all off. You'll see when the stream ends, we'll just be on kick. But it will happen within like 2 minutes. Sorry, let me post it right here too. Sorry about that. Meme shit post. Sorry. That link doesn't work. It's this one. It's this one. I just pinned it to the top of your chat. I'll drop it again in YouTube for you guys. I'll post this link inside of I'll post this link inside of the Discord. But let's keep going for about 2 minutes.
Demiurge 2.0. Whoa.
Yeah.
This is like way more advanced than Terminator.
Yeah.
Hollywood fucking lied.
They did, yeah. But people will be able to wake up. The cool thing about it is that you will be able to wake up out of this.
Yeah.
Right? And because the fuel, like, I mean, I don't think there's an accident that we are moving to billions and millions of people on this earth. I don't think it's an accident that we have constructed a reality where we can literally turn people on and off from a fear-based perspective over and over again. I think that it's very purpose-built in order to create enough fuel for this next evolution of humanity that we can all choose our way out of it. And then if we do that, then all of a sudden, like, hey, we're shooting shit into space and all the Elon stuff comes to life because now we're putting satellites up there and we're harvesting the sun energy. Or we do this dumbass thing where we can't actually hold our sovereign state, is what I call that. And that sovereign state means that I can be the observer, I can be like God, and I can allow things to bypass and move around me, but I'm also feeling everything about it. I'm also engaged with it. And this is one of the things that Jesus did. He actually healed without touching people because he would just become such a witness that he was observing the person and they were like, oh, I actually can heal myself. And therefore they just like stood up and walked. They did all this magical stuff. And they thought it was him. And he's like, no, it's not me. But he was the emanation of what God says that we should be.
Man, anybody into questions? You got any good ones pulled up there, Mitch? Help me out, people. You see what I'm dealing with here.
I'm sorry.
You got any good ones?
Bye, Facebook. Bye, Twitch. Bye, YouTube.